It's bigger. It's louder. It's better than ever. This still isn't your typical motorsports podcast. This is the 10th anniversary of Crush This, a monster truck podcast brought to you by J Concepts. For 10 years, your hosts, the monster truck Canucker Bradshaw and Dan Chichagash, have brought you into the minds and personalities of the monster truck industry. Strap in and hold on tight. This is Crush This!
And welcome to a brand new episode of Crush This, a Monster Truck podcast. My name is Bradshaw, also known as the Monster Truck Canucker. It is a beautiful, amazing August night here in Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. And it is going to be a great episode. We have our good buddy Austin Spence on the show tonight. It's going to be a great one. We're going to be talking a lot of different stuff from BeamNG to his time at Triple B, so much more. Did you guys know he also worked for Kalita Motorsports at one point in the NHRA? We'll be talking about that a little bit as well. Got a couple of housekeeping things. Backyard Beasts and the Renegades and MTA, you guys suck. Crushed This on top, even though we didn't win tonight on Smashdown. But the September season of Smashdown is coming soon. That goes into our buddies over at Monster Truck Attitude. Check them out on Facebook and YouTube. Home of Thursday Night Thunder, Tuesday Night Smashdown. Well, I think it's third. And I thought there was Revolution. I don't know. But Steve and we had Steve Jones from MTA on a couple weeks ago, and it was an awesome chat with him talking about all things downhill diecast monster truck racing. Shaggy's been here. What's up, Shaggy? Sean, do it for Jimmy. Always do it for Jimmy. Hashtag do it for Jimmy. Go check out our pals over at jconcepts.net. If you're looking for anything RC related, bodies, tires, stuff for carpet racers, monster trucks, go check out our buddies over at J Concepts. User code Crush This at jconcepts.net for 15% off all your items. Our buddies over at Monsters Monthly as well. If you need a place to find our podcast, if you aren't able to find it on any audio platforms, Monsters Monthly hosts the YouTube videos afterwards. Go check out what they do. Awesome supporter of Back Channel Productions, our buddies over there with Nick Davis. Go check out Monsters Monthly. They are such a cool monster truck resource for shows. More information, go check those guys out. We have our spread shop there. Stuff's coming soon. Been working on some real life designs right now. So the shirt designs are coming. But your boys got a dragster that's going to be on display at the NHRA US Nationals this weekend. Go check that out. Once I'm able to post the design, I will. Shaw Speed Design Co. is kicking ass. And go check out our buddy Bryce Kenny in his book, Geared for Life, Making a Shift into Your Full Potential. There's an audiobook version as well now. If you want to hear the smooth voice of Bryce Kenny, go check that out. I see you rolling your eyes, Austin. I see he's on a little corner on the bottom of my screen there. Go check that out. It's a great listen, great read. We had Bryce on last year. Hope to have him on again. He's moving into the Tech Deck Rec Deck truck, which you know what? People might hate me for this. I like it. I think it's cool. It's unique. I got to see it at World Finals. It's cool. Everybody can shut up about it. If you don't like it, I don't care. I like it. That's what matters to me. But guys, we are about to get into our episode with our good buddy Austin Spence. We'll play a ad from Monster Truck Attitude, and we are going to get into our episode with Austin Spence. So stay tuned.
Are you ready to get in on the action here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel? Look no further. Head over to Facebook where you can sign up for all the great events we host right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Be sure to sign up for the events and register your name and get locked in with a monster truck of your own and get ready for the great thrills and spills right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Again, find us on Facebook, register for these events, and you soon will be competing in all the great events. We hope to see you there. And get ready for the wild and crazy action. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a beat right here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel.
And like I said, we are here live with none other than Austin Spence. Austin, how's it going tonight, buddy?
Oh, man, feeling good. I've been looking forward to this all night. Gregory Nagy, I'm representing Motor City, Detroit Lions all the way. But, man, I'm excited to be here, man. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time.
Well, you were telling me it's been a while since you busted out the old podcasting equipment, and it's looking like we got basically the same mic. Even though mine's XLR, I see yours is the USB version, but pretty much the same mic. Sure, makes great stuff. But let's get into it, man. You're also going to be on an upcoming episode of another show that's going to coming out soon related to Monster Truck Attitude. So let's start from the beginning. How in the heck did you get into this wild, crazy world of monster trucks?
Oh, dude, man, we're going to be here a while. So there's actually an ongoing joke with my mom because when my mother was actually pregnant with me, they went to 2 monster truck shows, and she claims that I heard them through the wound, and I was more excited about engines than I was about, Willie Nelson or any kind of music. But anyway, all I remember is monster truck shows throughout my childhood. I grew up going to the Pontiac Silverdome. Later on, obviously Ford Field, once unfortunately that got taken down. But a lot of my core memories as a kid was going to monster truck shows. And it's really crazy to think about because I'm not the type of person that gawks over, social media influencers. I don't really care about like celebrities, actors, anything like that. The guys that I grew up watching and idolized over were guys with these big trucks. They were good old boys and they like to go tear it up. And, that's what I loved. And I'm 30 years old this year and I've been a fan ever since.
I find that funny. Your mom going to, monster truck shows it just was from right from the beginning, even before birth, you were already just it's already there, and obviously you mentioned the Pontiac Silverdome. What a iconic venue for monster trucks.
Yep, I got a piece of it right up there, actually.
Yeah, he's got a piece there. And you were telling me about that yellow poster in the back. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that poster is actually from the very last Monster Jam that was held at the Pontiac Silverdome of January 2006. That was when Lindsey Wink and Dennis went at each other. Dennis cartwheeled into the barricade. And that was just such a iconic night. And honestly, that was one of the main driving forces because I've always been a fan, but I believe firmly in my heart that after that night, that is what driven it into my soul. Like, this is what I want to do. And we talked about it briefly in the pre-show, but back then they don't do shows like they do nowadays because we were there at the Pontiac Silverdome for the very last Monster Jam for 16 hours. My dad, my brother, myself, and I think our stepbrother at the time, he came with us, and we just made it an all-day ordeal. First time I ever got to meet Dennis Anderson and Tom Mintz under the same roof. And it was just an all-star lineup. The show was phenomenal. I would argue that show was better than the World Finals that year, to be 100% honest with you. But we stayed until 3:30 in the morning because at the end of the show, everybody that wanted an autograph went to a certain section of the Silverdome, and all the drivers stayed there until everybody that wanted an autograph got an autograph and left. And I'm pretty sure there's photos somewhere. Tom was very tired that night. I mean, being there for all day up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning signing autographs. I mean, it was a whole day, but I mean, that night is absolutely iconic to me.
And that was like the heyday. Drivers would stay until 3-4 a.m., signing autographs because the shows, especially back in the day, were packed. I remember my parents, and this was before the big Monster Jam days and stuff like that. But I remember back in the day, my parents would always rent me, actually from the library, the Bigfoot in action, videos like that. And just seeing the flash bulbs, and that was still even that era that you were talking about, the Silverdome, trucks, the flash bulbs. You don't see that much anymore. I miss that era specifically just because the environment. I wish I was able, living where I live, I really wasn't able to go to any monster truck shows at the time, but I wished as a kid to go to some of those shows because they just looked electric.
I mean, and they absolutely were. And not to mention parking wasn't $100 to get into the venue. I mean, if you look at old pictures of the Silverdome, everything around it was a giant parking lot. And I think Back then, tickets were only like $12 to get in. It was either you got a free VIP or pit party pass from like AutoZone or something. And I mean, we made a whole day out of it. I mean, anytime we did some event, I mean, monster trucks were kind of like always our thing to go to. We didn't really go do a lot of vacations growing up. We didn't go and do a lot of stuff like that as far as family venues. But whenever January, February came around for first quarter, monster trucks were around the corner. And that was kind of like our family get together. Let's go and watch the trucks. And it was just kind of like a tradition and something I just always fell in love with, all the way from being a little kid to now being 30. I still get giddy and excited. Granted, there are things that are happening nowadays that I wish we'd bring back. But you know, you got to be able to adapt and move forward with the times. Otherwise you kind of get left behind in history.
Well, and you're saying, you know, being 30, you still have the same passion. And that reminds me of a Facebook post I made. My wife took a picture of me. It was, I think 2021 or 2022 in Edmonton. And it wasn't a full blown throwdown event. It was like, they called it the COVID Crusher event. They had two of the Como trucks and the Roughneck Crew Behavior team. And my wife took a picture of me, and I just looked enamored. And I still get that way at 34 years old. Like when a monster truck fires up near me, I get giddy. I'm like, I'm trying to just take the biggest whiff of methanol as I can. And like there's something about monster trucks, even into, you know, I'll be 35 in January. Like, this shit still gets me excited. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, whenever you hear a 1,500 horsepower, 12,000 pound machine fire up, I get excited. Speaking of my wife, she's looking at me through the doorway.
Oh, you're in trouble. Dishes need to get done.
No, I already did them. But like, it's like, I look back on that era, even like the World Finals at the time. Like, that's why I like this year at World Finals, Zach Garner's run. I still think it should have won.
He got robbed.
He definitely got robbed. And like, that was the most perfect old school World Finals run that we've had in a long time, where it was all out, balls out insanity, where he just F it. I'm just destroying this truck, rip the rim in half. Unfortunately, he didn't have good luck the next day, but like, his run was like a prime old school. If this was like back in the Vegas days, that would have won hands down. But
it definitely reminds me of an old Dennis, old Mint style run. That's exactly the type of vibe I got from it when I watched it too. But unfortunately, with the format, it really messed him up for racing the next day. But if they would have done the format a little bit differently, I would have put all my chips on Gardner doubling down at the World Finals this year.
Oh, exactly. And, you know, going back to like, you know, growing up in Michigan, going to monster shows, did you ever go to any independent shows? You know, that area, like Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, like, I'm so jealous of the amount of shows that happen there every year. Cause like, the closest show to me is Edmonton, and Monster Jam comes there once a year, and Throwdown, even though I just missed it, which pissed me off. Were you able to go to some of the independents around the Michigan area?
Oh, if there was anything that was monster truck related, we were going. And through hell or high water, we were going to a monster truck show. And to kind of really educate you and a lot of the old school guys, my very first monster truck experience that I could remember was not a Monster Jam show. I believe it was actually at the Ingham County Fairgrounds. I couldn't tell you exactly what year, but I remember 3 specific trucks being there. You had the purple and pink Virginia Giant. Ooh. You had, so the old, the bubble body style, the 97 to 03 F-150.
Yes.
I will die on this hill. Favorite Ford body style on a monster truck. And I know I agree. A lot of people don't like it. Personally, that is one of my favorites. I love that body style. So yeah, the Virginia Giant there. You had, oh man, what was it? Oh, Dan Evans Destroyer. Nice. The old school red with the flame job on the side, that old school. So none of the black, none of the yellow, like that original design of Destroyer. And then the very first truck I ever got to interact with was Mark Watrous' Mongoose.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I remember after that show, because I was with my dad and he got talking with Mark Watrous at the time, and one thing led to another. I remember we got a chance to actually go to his shop in Lansing, where he had the Mud Dragster, I think Capital City Crusher, the Leafer show truck that he had with the gull wing doors on a dent side Ford, like coolest thing ever. And I was itty bitty. And again, I could barely remember what I did 2 years ago. But when it comes to monster trucks, I just have this plethora of knowledge, like of just all this crazy stuff that I remember, and I love it. But Mongoose was my first love, and I love that truck, and the fact that Mark and his family took us and like kind of showed us around the shop. I got to sit on the tire in the shop, and just such an overall like really good dude. And I wish he was still competing nowadays. I know he's got a race truck. I know he's got his ride truck down in Florida. And little fun fact, actually, shortly after, I think it was either COVID or something, he was doing rides at the Fowlerville Fair. And I actually got a chance to like talk a little bit to Mark Watrous and kind of like say, hey, like you were extremely influential from such a young age for me to get in this industry, because this truck was the very first truck I ever interacted with. And that's just a memory, a core memory that I will hold on for the rest of my life.
It's funny because you mentioned, like you can't remember what you did 2 years ago, but you remember, like that's how I am with random drag racing facts, random monster truck stuff. Like, but I can't remember what I did 2 years ago. Like that's just how us car guys, motorheads, gearheads are just wired. Like I remember, and it was cool because this couple months ago on the trip I took, I got to see the Kenny Bernstein's drag show that went 300, the first 300 mile an hour. I got to see that at the NHR Museum. And like, I can remember stuff like that. But 2 years ago, I was probably on some oil field job site with my dad. Like that, but that's like certain vivid things. Like I remember the first time I saw Bigfoot in person, it was the Cyclone body with Keith Sturgeon driving. And I talked about this body last week. Still think that's one of the nicest Ford bodies and paint schemes of all time. But, so when did you first start, being like, hey, can I come help you guys? When did that kind of start happening? Because that's usually the progression, right? You go to a monster truck show, you start kind of being enamored, you start kind of talking to some of these guys, and then you finally get the courage to be like, hey, can I come help you? How did that process happen?
So we'll actually go back just a little bit before that, because after a certain point in my childhood, when I started, I was still that kid like in middle school that I still love monster trucks. But there was that point where as a kid, you're, somebody that still likes monster trucks because, like kids that love dinosaurs or whatever. It's like, it's just a phase. They'll grow out of it. I never grew out of it. Something happened up here to where I just never grew out of the monster truck stuff. So going into high school, I kind of like pushed away, like not showing that I'm big into monster trucks, but I still followed it as much as I could. But I always played football from 4th grade all the way up to my junior year of high school. And it wasn't until I got into high school that I really developed my love for cars and wrenching, because obviously I love monster trucks. I love muscle cars, being from Michigan, Woodward Dream Cruise, car shows throughout the summer. I always loved engines, American muscle. I grew up in a Ford, especially on my dad's side, in a Ford family. So I was a third generation to go and actually work for Ford. My grandfather, my father used to work at the Ford plant, Saline. And I got to go work at two Ford dealerships in my hometown. But always grew up Ford. And it wasn't until I went to college that I kind of realized, all brands are designed to break. So having any kind of brand loyalty is kind of pointless. So yeah. I love Fords, but Chrysler, GM, whoever, they're all designed to break. But anyway, back to when I was playing football in high school, we had an auto shop program, and I was good at playing football. I wasn't the greatest. My heart wasn't in it. It was just kind of like, hey, you're a big dude. You should throw on some shoulder pads and a helmet and go hit people and knock them around for a few hours. And I did. I definitely rattled some cages, but it wasn't something that I was wanting to pursue for like college or anything further than high school, right? So talking to my auto shop teacher at the time, there was an old small block Chevy kind of just tucked in the corner. Well, our auto shop program in Brighton High School was a throwaway class. Like a lot of the stoner kids took it as like a 4th year math credit, or they took it and they would go hide behind the shop and, smoke recreationally, if you will, and they wouldn't take it seriously. Well, I was somebody that like loved so much with working with my hands. I was like a C+ student at best in high school. I wasn't good with book work, but when it comes to working with my hands, like I am there. So after my sophomore year, junior year of high school, we decided we're going to start a drag racing club. And we actually had 2 cars. So my junior year of high school, we had an old, I think it might be a 4th gen. It was an 86 T-top Chevy Camaro that we found in the woods of some farm. We dragged it to the high school, yanked whatever critters and everything we could. And mind you, we're a bunch of high school kids. We have no idea what we're doing. We're thinking race car, pull everything that is not the steering wheel and the pedals out of it. We're going to put this crappy small block 350 in it that we kind of knew how to put together. And we're going to take it to the Milan Dragway for the high school drag nationals. Thank God the tech official realized we had no idea what we were doing, because we hobbled this piece of crap to the Milan Dragway, and they're like, there is not a single thing. We might as well have had hay bale twine as a seatbelt on this thing. It was so bad. So they're like, we can't allow you to go down the drag strip. We're like, well, what can we do with it? They're like, you can do the burnout competition. And this wasn't like what we have nowadays where, you know, you have this like squared off area. It was literally just a stationary burnout where you just sit there, light up the tires, and it's a crowd applause type deal. Well, we didn't have any way to roll the windows down. We didn't have no sound insulation, no nothing. So they're like, all right, Austin, you're in charge of this whole project, so you're going to do the burnout. I have never had a car up at this point that had any kind of power to light the tires up. So I had to literally ask somebody, hey, how do I do a burnout? What do I need to do? And the tires we had on this came from my good friend Emily. Her dad had these wheels and tires off in the field somewhere. They were dry rotted to high hell. Like they were extremely old, probably old enough to vote. And we decided we're going to throw these tires on the back of this Camaro and light them up at the drag strip. The fact that they didn't blow is a miracle in itself. And, you know, we just had a blast. Well, the faculty at the high school found out like, hey, there's something going on with the auto shop. We need to pay attention to this. So next thing you know, all the faculty and all the teachers and principals and all those guys, they started coming to me and say, hey, can you guys do oil changes? Can you rotate my tires? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I said, absolutely. So we started, you know, getting a customer base more than just the donated, you know, junk cars we got from the local salvage yard as like, you know, way to learn how to work on cars. Well, enough people through the board heard what we were doing with the drag racing program that somebody donated a 1996 Chevy Caprice Classic cop car to us to have as a complete race car to go for the high school drag nationals my senior year. We didn't do a whole heck of a lot to that thing. I think we cleaned it up. We took the sway bar out of it. I think we did the brakes, and we put a nice paint scheme on it. We painted it flat black. Our school colors were black and orange. We were the Bulldogs. And we had on the, you know, it was an ex-cop car. So we had on the windshield, take it to the strip, not the street. Not a lot of us listened to that slogan, but we put it on there because, you know, it's appropriate. So anyway, that was kind of like my high school career, like leading up to like my love of motorsports. And actually kids don't do this. I was so bad with my attendance at some point that I would actually go to my teacher, one of my classes, say, hey, I'm sick. I need to go home. And I would drive around the school, park my truck inside the auto shop, and continue working on the race car because that was more of a priority to me than actually going to class. Because, you know, I'm responsible.
I feel that's something I would do if my high school had an auto shop, but all they had is wood shop and metal shop. So it's like, why?
Right, exactly. So my senior year, they had some kind of it was more or less like a scholarship type award ceremony, and they said that I got something, and it was a school pride award, and so they gave me a couple little scholarships to kind of help me go to school. And we had 2 recruiters actually come into our auto shop program to talk about a future in automotive. We had UTI and we had UNOH. I was not impressed in the slightest with UTI, and that was extremely disappointing to me because at the time, Monster Jam had a sponsorship with them. And I thought, well, a lot of these guys went to UTI. They got a career at Monster Jam. Some of them even got up to drive. So this is like where I'm wanting to look at it to be my alma mater and go get an education. Well, shortly afterwards, the sponsorship and everything got pulled, and I don't know if there's like what the logistics were, but there was essentially a falling out, and UTI just kind of fell off the face of the earth. I don't even know if they're still really around anymore, but I know they have the NASCAR Institute down in Charlotte. So talking to the UNOH guy, super cool dude, really was informant. He asked me like, well, what is it that you love? And I told him like, well, I love racing, I love motorsports, but I obviously love monster trucks. And he was like, well, the thing is about UNOH that's different than every other college in the United States. They got their tennis course, they got their basketball course, they have a football stadium. He's like, at UNOH, we don't have a football stadium, we have a racetrack. And I'm like, okay, when I will plan my visitation.
You had a racetrack, you're like, I'm in.
Yep, I'm there. And I'm wearing my UNOH shirt right now. I mean, I graduated in 2016. I fell in love with it. But the issue at the time, because again, I graduated UNOH in 2016. I graduated high school in 2013. Good Lord, I sound old saying that out loud.
I graduated 2009. You're making me feel young, dude.
Appreciate that. So I go for a visitation down at UNOH. We get to see the race shop. We get to see all the classes. We get to see like all this crazy stuff UNOH has to offer. And I was blown away. Now, I know a lot of people in this industry, especially when you are in it, you don't need to go to college in order to work on a monster truck. But my background, I didn't have a family that was involved in motorsports. My dad grew up a farm kid out in Napoleon, Michigan, worked on tractors and trucks. So I knew a little bit of mechanics from working with him. And my mom always kind of had like a more of an office job and, kind of worked behind the desk, computers, banking, stuff like that. So when it came to motorsports and racing, that was all me. Like I didn't have any friends that were kind of involved with it. The only people I knew that liked anything that had to do with racing was within my drag racing club. That's it. So for me, I don't have connections. I don't know anybody. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to UNOH. And there's a quote that I learned from Mr. White, RIP. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us anymore, that stuck with me forever. It doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know. And when it comes to motorsports, you can know anything and everything there is about engines, tuning, transmissions, EFI, whatever. If you don't make connections, you're not going to make it very far. And that is one thing that I really gravitated towards, because back in high school, I was a bit of a hermit. You can ask my mom this. I was the type of kid that sheltered myself in my bedroom, played video games. I didn't want to socialize and talk to nobody unless I had anything to do with cars. But when I learned that you need to be social, you need to get out, you need to make yourself known, that's when I started slowly kind of getting out of the shell. Like, okay, I need to make friends. Unfortunately, not screaming at each other on Xbox Live why they suck at Call of Duty. So so that's kind of what drove me to that. So as I'm in college, I'm learning all these classes. I'm going to high performance steering suspension. I'm learning custom engine building. So I'm learning all these key credentials when it comes to building and setting up a race car, whether it's circle track, whether it's drag racing, whatever it may be. But there was nothing there that had anything to do with just monster trucks, obviously. But I paid a lot of attention when it came to custom engine building and engine machining and high performance fuels, because, you're running 871s on methanol, big block Chevys, cylinder heads, all that stuff. So engine is a key component. So I hyper focused on engine building for that specific reason alone. But I was realizing I could learn as much as I can in the classroom, but I need to get I can't just sit here and expect somebody with, a textbook and a classroom and a shop to be like, hey, this is what you do. Because when my time's up here, no one's going to I could show them a piece of paper like, hey, I have this certificate or I have this degree, hire me. I don't have connections. I learned all these, all this knowledge and all these skill sets. I need to apply it somehow. So Dan Agosh actually was one of the first people to kind of throw their hat at me, because in college, there was a couple of groups. I don't know if it was Monster Trucks Then and Now or Collecting or whichever group it was, but I threw my name out there like so many other people do, and saying, hey, I'm wanting to get in the industry. It's like I'm going to school for, high performance. This is what I'm going to school for. I have some knowledge in mechanics, but I've never worked on a truck before. is anyone willing to kind of, throw a bone at me, or are there any shows nearby, any shops? Like, I'm willing to sweep the floor in the shop. Like, I just want to get my foot in the door. And, Dan Agosh was the one that's like, hey, like, keep an eye on the schedule and shows that are coming around, you gotta be at it. You gotta be after it. You gotta, what is it? The squeaky wheel gets the grease or something like that. So I basically had to learn to be annoying to kind of get my name out there. Well, the 4-wheel jamboree was coming up, and I'm like, man, I would love, like, what a way to start a career if I was, because I grew up watching, Shake, Rattle, and Roll on VHS. And so the 4-wheel jamboree was like, to me at that age, I'm like, that's like the end all be all for like the independent stuff. Like, that is like the place to be, right?
Yeah.
So I put a message out there, and I just kind of waited. And eventually I got a message in my inbox from Mr. Denver Echterenkamp with Venom and say, hey, we're going to be, I think it was his debut year. And they were, all I did was kind of help tire up and wipe the truck down and everything. But I stayed as long as I could for all 3 days of that weekend, because I just want to soak up as much knowledge as possible. He's a joker too. If you never got a chance to mess around with Denver, he is a joker. And I just love hanging out with that family. I can't wait to hopefully see them again, especially when they finally get that new truck done. It's going to be a lot of fun. But his son, Denver Echterenkamp III, Little D, I know he doesn't like that name anymore, but I still call him Little D. Oldest looking 12-year-old on the face of the planet.
He's got the Benjamin Button thing going on.
Yeah. But yeah, man, like, as soon as I put my name out there that I just wanted to help out, and like, I was just an abundance of emotions helping out. Like, I know to some people it's like, it's just a monster truck. It's just a big, stupid truck with track tires. But to me, like, this is a childhood of, memories, a childhood of dreaming and hoping and wishing. And I got that opportunity. I got that chance to help somebody out. And I think they realized like how much that means to me, because they actually surprised me, like, completely out of nowhere, that Denver and his family brought their monster truck to my wedding, completely unplanned, mind you.
I'm jealous of that.
Dude, I didn't think I thought it was going to be killed at the altar. Like, it was insane.
All of a sudden you're about to say I do, and all of a sudden,
pretty much
just rip it in.
So that is kind of how, like, I got my name out there to just kind of like just help out. And, I graduated from college again in 2016, moved up to Michigan because I didn't really have any connections, didn't know where to go. So I kind of was like, okay, well, I'll go up and, work for a little bit, and whatever happens, happens. I worked at one Ford dealership that was kind of slimy. So then I went to this other Ford dealership, Seymour Ford, Lincoln, which I think most of my dad's side of the family has bought cars from there. So we know the sales guys, we know some of the technicians, and it just felt like a big family, right? And the second time I ever worked on a truck was actually when Mr. Cheech worked for DCP Power Sports with Dirt Crew and Quad Chaos. And it was some small fair show in southern Michigan. It was those two trucks, and Zane was there with Master of Disaster and Stinger. And that was the first time I ever got to experience taking a corner apart with it, because I think Big Air Aaron Kane went out there and freestyle and does what Aaron Kane does and just broke an axle. And I got to kind of like, I was essentially more or less just handing tools, because I'm like, I don't want to get in the way, but this is so cool.
Yeah.
So
I know that feeling too, man.
Yeah. So I got to kind of see that with Cheech, and I was just like, man, I want to do this full time. Like, I'm looking at Cheech like sweating bullets. He's working his butt off. He's running all over the place. And I'm just like, I want to be there and help him, but I don't want to get in his way, because I'm like 3 times taller than him, and I don't want to trample the poor guy. Like, I'm just there to help him out. So, but I learned so much from that weekend. It was just so much fun. But I think the best part of that wasn't the thrashing, wasn't the crewing. It was the camaraderie after the event, because I look at these guys bigger than celebrities. I see like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, whatever. I don't care about celebrities in the slightest. But you're somebody that drives a monster truck. I think you are one of those guys. You are it, right? And it was really cool because I remember us going to some sandwich shop. Couldn't remember where, but I just got to sit there with Cheech. Mullet was who was driving Dirt Crew at the time. I remember that. I think that was the only time I ever got to hang out with Mullet. and Cheech, we're just sitting there just BSing. Like I'm just kind of part of this like little group, and these guys, and we're just, you know, talking shop, talking monster trucks, and just casual. And that a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit kind of made me realize, okay, these are just regular Joes like you and me, you know, that, you know, yeah, they drive a cool truck. Yeah, they're kind of put in the spotlight, but at the end of the day, he's just a good old boy with a family and has a love for monster trucks just like you and I do.
Yeah.
So, but after that weekend, that was like what set it in stone. Like, I need to go do this full time.
And that's such a cool story. And it's cool that, you know, Cheech in a way is a part of both of our stories. Cause you know, one of my first Monster Jam shows that I ever got to work was with Cheech was a part of it. It was in Calgary, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And even just starting this with him, like Cheech is such a great guy. And I'm so glad that he's getting the opportunities he is. Like the dude deserves it. And, you know, it's such an incredible story, you know, with him and yourself, you know, and then how did you get involved with Monster Jam?
So when I was working at the Ford dealership, I was kind of like at this rut, right? Like, I'm like, man, I'm working on the same 5 cars every day. Like there's nothing interesting. You feel like you're just going through the motions, like a regular everyday job. Right. And I'm like, do I really, like, I went to school for 2.5 years. I have my associate's degree. I'm like, I went to school for 2.5 years. I'm back here working in a dealership. I was working at a Quick Lube at the time, and I'm seeing some of these other mechanics that are out there in the shop doing the same thing. And, you know, they're in their 50s or 60s or 70s. I'm like, do I really want to do this for the next 40 years? And I just kind of had this like little crisis a little bit. So I went home and talked with Katie. I'm like, I really don't want to keep doing this. But, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, there is potential money, but with flat rate pay and the way mechanics are, it sucks. So I was actually on the verge of going and working at the steel mill up the road where, you know, you can make a lot of money, but you're sacrificing a lot of your personal time to do that. But I was kind of in my head like, well, I'd like to make money because, you know, money means car parts. Car parts means race car. So that's where my mindset was. But, you know, Katie helped me, you know, really, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to work on monster trucks. That's what I want to do since day one. And so we went on Feld Entertainment's website and, you know, they had this thing for a cover letter and I barely know how to write a resume, right? Like, thank God for Chat GPT nowadays, but it's so hard for me to like chalk myself up to like being somebody that, you know, hey, hire me, you won't regret it. Right.
Oh yeah.
And so they helped me fill that out. And I remember I was doing 4 tires on a Super Duty and I was one of the big guys in that area. So whenever a Super Duty, an Excursion, any big vehicle came in, straight to me, because apparently I'm the only person that's capable of lifting tires that weigh over 80 pounds. So anyway, I'm in the back in the tire room, mounting and balancing a set of tires for this 20, I think it was like a 17 Super Duty, something like that, 6.7 4-wheel drive, awesome looking truck. And next thing I know, my phone's buzzing, and I'm like, no one calls me at this time. Normally, like, I just have a headphone in, like I have my phone on me just, you know, in case of emergencies. But I'm like, who the heck is calling me? So I'm worried like a family member, you know, fell, or, you know, my mom needs help or just something, right? Yeah. And I look and it's a Florida area code. I'm like, who the heck from Florida is calling me? So I answer it and it's like, hey, is this so-and-so? This is, I can't remember their exact name, but it's like with Feld Entertainment and Monster Jam. How are you doing? I'm like, oh. So I basically stopped what I was doing. I feel bad for this poor guy that's waiting on his truck to get done. Like I walked out of the shop and I take this phone call and I'm like shaking and shuddering, like, holy crap, like Monster Jam just called me. And I'm thinking, like, how am I supposed to do an interview? How am I supposed to get to Florida? And like, it was just an all over the phone process. And, you know, like, yeah, we read your interview and we think you'd be a great fit. We'd love for you to come down and, you know, this, that, and the other. And I went home and I was like shaking, like I was in absolute disbelief, like, holy crap. Like,
yeah,
I got it. And like my mom started crying when she heard the news. You know, Katie started like kind of balling up a little bit, and I'm just like, I'm in disbelief. Like, are you serious right now? And yeah, it was true. And I'm like, holy crap! Like, I actually got an opportunity to do this, right? And I always look at the mechanics for Monster Jam, like, you know, these guys are thrashing. These guys have got to be some of the smartest technicians, like some of the smartest guys out there to work on these trucks in such a timely fashion. I got a reality check real quick about that when I moved to Florida. So
and then you had to move to Florida to start there. And what was it like? The when you started getting integrated with what they were doing, seeing kind of how the process worked. Was it fairly overwhelming the first little bit, or were you like, okay, let's get this done?
So it was very overwhelming because orientation day, I pull in there with a box truck, and Felder Entertainment Studios is a massive building. And so I'm talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to at the time, and they're saying, go to this door and we'll have somebody over there to pick up your toolbox out of the back of the moving truck. And I'm like, I got 20 minutes to hurry up and be in orientation. Like, I'm going to be late. Right. So I'm like, I'm calling them like, hey, I'm at this door. No one's here. They're like, oh, we meant this door over at this side. I'm like, crap. so I'm hurry up, I move. And I'll never forget, Ozzy was the one that unloaded my toolbox, got it over there. I hurried up, parked the truck, and I ran into orientation. I go to the front desk. I'm like, hi, I'm out of breath. I'm like, I'm Austin. I'm here for orientation. Where do I need to go? They're like, down the hall, this door, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, thank you. I burst through the door. Everyone just looks at me along with Scott Douglas on the other side of the table. I'm like, hey, I'm late.
Like, this is something out of like a comedy movie. Like,
yeah,
like it, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So first impression, first day, this Michigan idiot comes in for orientation late. And I showed up for orientation, and it was very overwhelming. Like, I just knew Felder Entertainment, Monster Jam. I had no idea about like the Ringling Brothers Circus. I had no idea about the Marvel Universe Live. Like, I had no idea about all this other stuff. So it was very overwhelming and so cool to check out, like, first time going in. But when I actually kind of got settled in and got a chance to kind of mingle with some of the guys, it was very intimidating because there's some people that are there that have been doing this for a very long time. Some guys that have, helped out with independence more. And there's some others where, their family was involved in monster trucks in some way, shape, or form. Right. And here I am, never been involved in motorsports in one way, shape, or form. Don't have really much experience other than the 2 times I told you, wiping down and tiring up Venom and helping Dan with Quad Chaos, tiring up and tiring down. And that's it. And here I am staring at Gravedigger, Gas Monkey Garage, and all these other trucks. I'm just like, I might be over my head here. But I was so excited and happy. But yeah, the very first Feld Monster Jam truck I ever worked on, tore corners apart, was BJ Johnson's Gas Monkey Garage.
Which I find that cool because Cheech also worked on that truck as well, so that's cool. But when you were saying like that, you burst in the door, never like in my head, I go like that. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here.
That's now. Exactly how it. Yeah, if somebody was to ever make a movie in my life, that's exactly how I envision it.
And then there's just the voice of Monster Jam, Scott Douglas, just staring at you. It's like,
yeah, like, I might not even make it through the doors here. I might not even make it through orientation.
So how was that first year? You started working there, and how was that? Who kind of was there? Who took you under their wing? Because when you're a new guy, starting in a company, sometimes one of the older people there, has been there a while, will take you under their wing and kind of teach you the ropes. And was there anybody like that kind of worked with you at the beginning to kind of get you acclimated with, hey, a lot of shit's going to happen. This is how we're going to do it?
Unfortunately, not really. So, and I'm not trying to say like it's cliquey or any way, shape, or form, because when you first go into the Feld shop, at least this is how they did it when I worked there, you'd have kind of like a morning meeting and you would be assigned to go help somebody with another truck. And I'm a big dude. Like, I'm 6'6". Like, it takes me a minute to move around. So I'm not as fast as some of these little guys are, but I don't struggle nearly as much picking up these heavy parts, right? So there's some of these guys are working around me, but I'm making sure I'm efficient. I'm making sure stuff's tight. I can get things down a lot tighter than these other guys can. So I didn't really get assigned to like a team when we were going into first quarter. They actually had me on the international crew, which usually means, hey, we don't have a spot for you. I mean, granted, you may go do international shows, but mainly what that kind of meant at the time was, we don't really have a spot for you. We're going to kind of keep an eye as you like as a backup, and wherever you end up going is where you end up going, right? So for a little bit, I was on the international, and at the time I'm thinking, oh, cool, I've never been outside the country before, so now I got to get a passport. Still haven't used it. Still have always been in the bottom 48, never left the United States yet. But at the time I'm thinking, cool, I could go literally anywhere in the world. But unfortunately I didn't. When it's getting closer to first quarter, though, Dustin Brown and a couple others pulled me in their office, said, hey, we would like you to be a part of the BKT ride truck. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I actually, God, first time I ever rode on a ride truck, I think was Toledo Speedway back when it was like called the Summer Heat or something like that. And that was at the time the Built Ford Tough Blue Thunder ride truck. And it's still the same truck. I didn't know that till later, but it's like, I got to drive a truck that I rode in when I was a little kid. So, and I didn't care, ride truck, race truck, whatever. Monster trucks is monster trucks, and that's all I cared about. And I was partnered with Andrew Ford, and Andrew Ford was the one that was driving at the time, and he's a character. I mean, we got along great. We got to go out, and he never liked to let me drive the rentals, rightfully so. But it is what it is. But he kind of took me under his wing because he also grew up a fan. And, we kind of just went back and forth as far as like, what he's done and what I wanted to do. But when I got acclimated in the Feld, I was with the ride truck. But even when ride truck wasn't going on, I would still go over and help thrash as much as I could. Even though I'm a new guy, kind of the same thing with when I help Cheech, like I'm just handing tools, handing parts, like what can I do to kind of help out, right? Yeah. And the cool thing about being with ride truck, we were in California for, I think it was like 2.5 months straight. So Oakland, San Diego, Anaheim, we're running through all three of those through all three different stadium tours. So I got to see all the different tours coming through there in and out every single week. So I got to see everybody with the stadium shows. And yeah, that was a lot of fun, but I think the most iconic would definitely have to be my very first Monster Jam show. And it, for reasons, I'm trying to remember exactly what his name was, but he was, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. He was driving Gravedigger at the time. I just ran into him at the NASCAR race. Morgan Kane. There we go. Yeah, so Morgan Kane was driving Gravedigger, and Tim Hall Jr.
Shout out Tim.
Yep. Shout out to Tim Hall Jr. He got to step up as his crew chief. Well, I remember specifically that he went out there for a backflip, landed somewhere weird on the cage. Well, we had to fix the truck, and I got to help him and David Baldwin go to CRD, which I didn't know was up the road from Angel Stadium. And even though, yeah, it was a lot of work, but I'm just taking it all in, like just seeing like, holy crap, this facility, like you hear CRD and like them pumping these kits out for these trucks all the time, right? And it's like, man, we got like 70 trucks part of Monster Jam in their field. And just like, how are these guys creating so much? And it's literally a monster truck in a box that you got to weld together. And they have these automated, insane CNC machines to pump these tubing and all the stuff out for a monster truck kit. It was so cool. So yeah, it was pretty awesome that we got to thrash that week and then try to get to San Diego. And there's a picture that actually made it that I took that was in Tim Hall's hometown newspaper. It was like Hometown Boy, like Reaching for Stars or Dreams, something like that. But the picture that's in the newspaper is the one I took on my iPhone that I sent to Tim. So you're welcome, Tim. But it was just so much fun, and I understand a lot of these older guys. This was kind of the hard part for me going into it, is I was still a big super fan. Like I was still fanning out over it. And like, I'm idolizing these drivers, right? So I'm thinking like, holy crap, there's Ryan Anderson, there's Adam, there's Becky McDonough. Like unfortunately super fanning a little bit. And it took a while to beat that out of me. And I think it was after my first initial season of 2018 into 2019 was when it's like, okay, they're just people. It is what it is. I got to tone it down a little bit. But at the time, they also had the Diesel brothers out there doing their thing. And yeah.
Well, there's a certain point where you have to have a switch and you got to flip that, like when I did Edmonton this year, a few days before that, I found out Charlie Pocket was going to be there. I fanboyed a little bit. I'm like, hey, like I met you in 2011. here in Edmonton. I got to shake his hand. Even Scott Douglas, I got to chat with him for a minute. But I think like for me, it's when the show starts that switch gets flipped. You got to go into work mode. You got to stay vigilant. You got to keep your eyes out for everything. And like, shout out to Tim as well from me. Cause like, I'm just a 34-year-old fat ass doofus from Northern Alberta, Canada, but he lets me come out in Edmonton and help him. Hopefully I'm able to go to Calgary. I'm hoping financially I can do it. But like, he has been such a big help for me, learning more about these trucks and just trying to be an overall help. Like, and I understand like I remember last year, I forget, I think it was Earthshaker. I think it broke something on one of the corners. And I kind of, I stood out of the way, but still, if they needed me to help, I was there. But I understand what you're saying. Like, you don't want to get in their way of what they're doing because, they're the ones that know this more than I would. So like, and also shout out to Mason Paul, one of the hardest working dudes in this industry, in my opinion. Like
Chazzy MP.
Yeah, Chazzy, dude, what a great guy. I hope he gets more chances to drive for Team Throttle. But like, I kind of was like, hey, I'm here. If you need me, let me know. But I didn't want to get in his way because he was doing his process. But I can understand that, because especially if you're newer to this industry, you don't want to screw things up, and if you're someone like me or anybody else that deals with anxiety, that is like a part where it's just like, yeah, I don't want to screw this up because my anxiety couldn't be able to handle it. Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're absolutely right. And I don't know what it was, but dude, there's something about when you walk out onto a stadium floor because, I helped with a ladder with a BKT ride truck for my first time go around. You walk out on that stadium floor because you see it on TV all the time. You see, how massive this track is. And it's like, oh, they got big jumps. Well, when you're walking down there and you have a 10,000-pound truck behind you, well, I didn't walk down there a lot. There was some communication with some of the help that had to get me in a side-by-side, move me to where I needed to go. But sometimes I had to run. I'm a big dude. I don't run.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's more or less power walk and pray I don't slip and fall for all 40 to 80,000 people to sit there and laugh at me. So, but yeah, it's just overwhelming. And then you see just the size and stature of these big jumps and you're just like, oh God, like it's intimidating. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an absolute blast. And yeah, like I see Bucket, honestly, I call him a close friend. We give each other crap all the time, but Kyle's been like a brother to me. And yeah, we met back in Houston back in 2020, which was roughly around one of the last events I got to do for Monster Jam.
So did you end up getting to drive the BKT ride truck eventually?
I did. So it was going into late 2019, early 2020, which there was a picture that surfaced earlier. And this was when Monster Jam was trying to do the Cedar Fair deal. Darius Royer and, oh my gosh, what's his name? Shoot. There's a picture that just came out with the two of them recently. He's helping out with the Hot Wheels tour. Good Lord, this is going to drive me nuts. But anyway, they got to come out and we had to show them how to drive a ride truck because they were going to go off and drive the Cedar Fair trucks. Like they've gone through MJU and everything, but we got to show them how to drive the ride truck a little bit. But it was actually really funny. So Andrew Ford, I got to work with him with the ladder and they decided, hey, you're going to go train him to drive the ride truck. And I took so much pride in being a part of ride truck, and I get it. It's a ride truck. It's a very old. Thank you, Mike Bev, James Calhoun. Appreciate it. Name phased me there, so I'm so sorry. But anyway, we go out to this field and I got to drive BKT for the first time. This is the first time I'm ever driving like with the truck, right? And they get 3 of these junk BKT tires out there because they want you to basically understand spatial awareness. Like you're in a big truck, it's wide. You need to understand what it's going to do, how it's going to throw you around, and it's slow. So it's not going to roll over. But I mean, you run over a pebble, it's an old leaf spring truck. You're going to feel it.
Yeah.
Those 2 days were rough. Like you had to it was 20 hours of driving. That's what they had to qualify in order for me to be okay to drive a ride truck. And so I was out there 10 hours each day, just trying to do like learning how to back the truck up, learning the rear steer. And I got really comfortable with it and I just had a blast. But when the first time I got behind the wheel and I'm driving, because they were telling me like, yeah, it's not going to go fast, but you need to understand like throttle rhythm and, making it entertaining, like get used to the truck. So I'm out there thinking I'm doing like hot laps or whatever. And Andrew Ford's like, stop. He's like, what the heck are you doing? I'm like, isn't that what you want? He's like, tone it down, Tom Mintz. You're driving a ride truck. Like, yes, sir. So, but it was a lot of fun, and I got to drive the BKT ride truck a few times. I think one of the coolest moments was actually being a part of the Houston Morning News, because I think it was Bryce Kenny that was actually riding in the back. I might be wrong, but one of the drivers were riding in the back doing an interview with the local news, and I was driving BKT out on that floor, and that was just such a surreal experience for me, being a part of something like that.
Like, I only got to drive a ride truck once, thanks to Don Frankish, and like that for me, like I have so much more respect for the ride truck drivers, because that's like, so even at a low speed, it feels like you're just going mock Chicken Louie, like, and just trying to figure out the rear steer. At first, it's like in my head, I'm like, I've driven forklifts, I'm used to the ass end kind of moving around. No, this is different.
Oh yeah,
and with Don's truck, you couldn't just hold the rear steer. You kind of had to like bump it mainly for corners, because I don't know if it's how his rear steer was set up, but you couldn't just hold it, right? So that took me a little bit to get used to. But like, shout out to you guys that drive ride trucks, because it is a grind. Like, I got to help out Bill Payne's crew 1 year about an hour away from me in a town called Dawson Creek, British Columbia. And like, I was the guy that, got them off up and down the ladder. And like, even shout out to those guys that are the ride truck helpers too, like what you were doing with the ladder, because you got to stay vigilant, because if a kid trips and slips or falls, like, that's not good.
So I kind of want to touch on that a little bit. So when I was running the ladder, I made sure I was extremely careful when it came to the little ones, like little kids. They don't really get their footing, right? So I would ask the parent, is it okay if I help them down? And so I'd like kind of help. And again, these are like little babies, right? Like, parents should more than likely probably carry them down themselves, but the steps on BKT were very steep. I didn't mind going out of my way to help carry them down.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily get yelled at, but I did get like kind of like more or less a talking to, just say, hey, like, we understand you're helping them, but it's a liability if, say, you slip or drop them or something like that, it could come back on us. And I'm like, I get it, but also I really don't want anything to happen to these kids, right? So he was like, unfortunately, there's nothing you could do. We understand you care, but it's up to the parents. Like, at the end of the day, that is their responsibility, not mine, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was one circumstance, and I felt awful. I was helping the ladder. We were in Oakland, California, and it must have been a stepdad, honestly, because he didn't react the way a normal parent should have. But he was sitting there with a selfie stick, recording everything. So he's got a selfie stick in one arm, kind of holding on to the kid's arm with the other, and they're getting ready to walk off the truck. And the kid loses his footing, and the poor kid kind of like more or less slid down the ladder. So luckily he didn't fall. But I mean, that ladder is kind of like a cheese grater, so it kind of roughed him up a little bit. So we made sure he was okay. But the dad looks down, watches the entire situation happen, gets to the bottom, goes back, pulls his selfie stick away, hits stop recording, then goes down to assess the kid. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, like tailor to the kid.
Yeah, it's like, who gives a shit about your selfie stick? Get down there and help your damn kid. Like,
exactly. Like I said, probably a stepdad, or they're on a date. Whatever the situation was, but I always took great care. Especially like, I treated the back of the truck almost like an amusement park ride. It's like, hey, keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times. I always made the joke. I said, do not stick your phone outside. You'd be amazed how much flatter an iPhone could get when it's ran over by a 12,000-pound monster truck. You'd be amazed how few people actually listen to that and how many iPhones we actually ran over.
Oh, damn.
But it is what it is. People have to take accountability for their kids and their property, but they don't want to listen. So it is what it is. But I had a blast running with the ride trucks, man. I really did. And it's unfortunate that my career with Monster Jam ended so abruptly. And is it all right if we talk about something like it's something a little personal? Okay. So kind of backing up a little bit, 2020 was a very And for those that do know, you know where I'm going at with this, but 2020 was an extremely, extremely rough year for me. So 29 December 30th, 2019, I was up in Michigan with my family on a family vacation before first quarter started. We had a dinner with my mom. My parents have been separated, but besides the point, I was at my mom's. We were having a family dinner. It was me, my brother, my sister, my fiance at the time, Katie. And out of nowhere, my brother is like, "Hey, let's go for a drive." Right? We never do this. My brother and I, we were night and day. I was kind of like the introvert. He was the extrovert. He'd like to go out, do wild, crazy things. I was the one that wanted to stay home, play video games, and kind of mind my own business, right? And he stayed home in Michigan with my mom, my sister, and I was the one that moved off to Florida to chase my dream. So that night, my mom is in the kitchen cooking, my sister and my fiance, they're helping, and me and my brother like, "Hey, let's go for a drive." We've never went for the drive. We never went and did anything like this before. And so we go out and we're driving around, and he just kind of was like, "Hey, let's take the long way home." We went and got some drinks or something, right? And the reason I'm saying this is I want to document this because I want to eventually go back to this. So I'm sorry that I'm pouring my heart out here.
Hey, dude, hey, like I've said before, like this podcast, I don't care. Like, get emotional. Like we're humans. It's okay to show our feelings. So go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So we go out and we're driving around, and this is my little brother telling me this. Like, we're 2-year difference, and he's like, "Hey, I know we never saw eye to eye, and I know we kind of had a little bit of a rough upbringing, trying to moving around Michigan and whatnot. But he told me, I just want you to know that I am incredibly proud of you for after everything that we've been through growing up, you still managed to go out and make your dream a reality. And I hope one day I get to see you drive." The very next day, he passed away. And that absolutely devastated my family. My mother losing a son, my father losing a son, my sister losing a brother. I lost a brother, and it absolutely it hurt. And that honestly, that was probably the absolute worst day of my life. I'm not going to go into specifics as to what happened, but unfortunately, how he was found and what happened, it devastated all of us when the news came out. And the worst thing about that is, I was at home for, vacation. I'm at home, visiting before I have to go back out on the road. Right. And luckily the guys and the managers down at Monster Jam, they were very understanding. They said, "Hey, we'll be here when you get here. We understand first quarter starting, but you got to look after your family, do what you got to do." So we stayed for the funeral and everything. But at the end of it all, I still had to go back. Right.
Yeah.
Well, word traveled at Monster Jam at the headquarters as to what happened with me. I went back to Monster Jam. Management was great. They were like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you good?" Like, they're double checking on me, like typical kind of like corporate, like double checking to make sure you're good. Right. I walk into the shop with the guys that I'm used to, like kind of joshing with and talking with and everything. And it was like a ghost town. Like, not a lot of guys knew how to interact with me because I went through such a devastating part of my life.
Yeah.
But one person that did lend a hand out, and I am forever grateful for this. And I don't care if I name drop him, he gets upset with me, I'll probably get a text message. But Mike Rowley reached out and, was the one person that actually like reached out to check in and like, "Hey, are you good? Do you need to talk?" And I'm forever grateful for that because I was not in a good headspace. Well, unfortunately, I wish I could say that was the worst of it and things got better, because this happened in December. I go back to work at Florida, January, February, March happens of 2020. March 20th, 2020, we get the message, everyone's been let go. So within the course of a few months, I lost my little brother and I lost my dream job. When you want to talk about a roller coaster of emotions, like, because you mentioned numerous times your anxiety and depression, like, brother, like I get it, man. Like, I went through some battles. And to this day, I still go through these trials and tribulations with, that loss, and not just the person that I've known my entire life, but also the job, the career, the path that I've wanted since I was a kid. And I lost both of that, and I just spiraled into this like pit, and I just turned into an awful person. And the reason why I bring this up, and I know people watch Throttle Out, I said some things on that show I am not proud of, and I want to make things right. I made some comments. I said some things. I said things to try and make light of, of certain drivers, and that is not who I am as a person at all. So for any of those that I may have offended or pissed off, for just trying to make a joke, and, I just wanted to put on record that I do apologize for my actions and the way I was acting. And granted, this is 5 years too late, but I just feel like I need to kind of put that crap behind me and know that, I went through some really dark and upsetting times, and luckily things started to get better. Because after COVID and everything, we had to exhaust all of our savings living in Florida, and we had to move back to Michigan. Because we weren't getting phone calls. No one had any idea when it was going to start back up again. Everyone was on a hiring hold. So we moved back to Michigan. I went back to working in a Ford dealership. Hated that. Worked in a factory to try and chase money. Hated that. 2 factories. Hated that. And I just, no matter where I went, I was just not a pleasant person to be around. Like, I was just upset. I was ticked off. It just felt like, and looking back now, I was very selfish about the situation. I was like, why is everything coming down on me? But it wasn't just me. It was everybody.
Yeah.
But, in my world, in my head, like, why is the universe putting this all on me? Right.
Yeah.
And, it sucked, and it took a long time for me to kind of realize, like, I'm not the only one going through this. If I manage to some way find my way back, I will. But after the things and comments that I said, obviously, more than likely, probably not going to happen as far as going back to company work. But I dug my grave. I made my bed. I'll lay in it. It is what it is. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I, just put it on record that I do apologize for some of the trashy remarks that I made on my behalf. And, my intention was not to actually upset anybody, but unfortunately I was a moody, I wasn't in a good headspace at the time.
And I can understand that, because, around that same time I was going through my personal problems. I was stuck in an emotionally and verbally abusive relationship, and, ended up November 11th, 2020, trying to off myself. And, when you're in that dark of a headspace, it's hard to get out of it. And
absolutely.
That's why I've always preached mental health on this podcast, because it's something that I struggle with. I'm diagnosed ADHD, depression, anxiety, on the autism spectrum. Like, I don't care. I'll let people know, like, I struggle with my mental health. But at some point, things start getting better. And for a while, it takes you so hard to see through that glass that's blocking your eyes from seeing that better.
Yeah.
That better version of yourself. And brother, I completely understand that, because, when you're stuck, it's like you're stuck in a literal hell, and that's how I described my time. I started smoking weed to cope with what was going on in my life, because I was in my head, that was the only escape I had from a girlfriend who was abusive. So I completely understand where you're coming from there, brother, because it's, and then, you try to reach out to people and they're like, no, you're just trying to, get sympathy. I'm not having that,
Yeah.
And no, like, and that's why I started saying on the very end of the episodes, check up on your friends and family, because
absolutely,
like, you don't want to be going alone in this kind of stuff. And it's a literal hell, and people sometimes don't realize how bad you can feel in this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the one thing that drove me away, and we'll drop this topic and move on to something more upbeat and helpful here in a second. But the one thing that drove me nuts when I was going through that phase, I grew up, it wasn't a strict Christian household, but I was mainly brought up Christian beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that drove me nuts when I'm going through that time was people when I would explain to people why I'm feeling a certain way, and all I would receive is, "Oh, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you." And it's like,
Yeah.
that is not helping. Like if I'm reaching out, like I'm like, I'm hurting here, I need some help, and you're just like, well, I'll pray for you, you know, hope that gets better. But it's like, to me, if you're gonna sit there and believe, you know, do unto others and all that other stuff, be somebody's you know, something to lean on, help them out, you know, help out your fellow man. Like, you know, I mean, granted, I have a group of friends that I talk to on a daily basis. I don't have to worry about anything in here being mean to me enough to where I'm gonna do something tragic. My friends on the internet are way worse, but at least they're funny. So there's that. But I love them to death. They're like my brothers. You know, little brotherhood that we have within the internet community, and I love those guys to death. I absolutely do. But kind of going back a little bit, so you know, I was jumping from job to job, and I was just not having it, man. Like I missed having that different city, different night, you know, always traveling, something exciting to do, right? And this was around 2022. So for those 2 years from 2020 to 2022, like I was just a mess. I went to a deep depression. I really started eating my feelings, still kind of trying to get rid of some of the weight, which, you know, me and my buddy Kyle were actually doing a competition between the two of us as far as like a weight loss challenge. But honestly, regardless of who wins, I'm just glad I have somebody I could rely on to kind of help me push towards my goal and being healthier and having a healthier lifestyle. But anyway, geez, guard, not that question, not that comment. But anyway, so I ended up reaching out to my one buddy that I knew from high school to help me with the drag racing club, and he worked for Coletta Motorsports, which, you know, I know you love NHRA.
Oh yeah,
he's like, hey,
dude, Coletta Motorsports is one of the most decorated teams going back to the 70s with Connie Coletta. You know, Scott Coletta, you know, God rest his soul, one of my all-time favorite racers, dominated Top Fuel racing in the 90s. Dude, I can go on and on. You just triggered my autistic brain when you said drag racing and Coletta. It's like, flips the switch. Oh, drag racing mode.
hey, man, that's okay. I got nothing wrong with switching on autism, because I'm the same way with monster trucks and big tires and massive horsepower. So I mean, that is my hyper focus right there. I promise you. But you know, I went into it where, you know, and it was such a weird demographic to be a part of, because I went from, you know, Monster Jam and Monster Trucks, where like I understand it's not as the same as NASCAR or drag racing. Like I understand that, right? But going into NHRA, it was a whole nother ball game, right? And I do have a story to tell you. This is you might hate me for this. You might never let me on here ever again.
If it includes a certain 16-time champion, I'm going to be pissed.
I don't think. Well, hold on. So anyway, I only made it with Coletta Motorsports for half a season, and we talked a little bit before the show as to the reason why. But it wasn't that I didn't enjoy it, but you know, going out there, thrashing and rebuilding an engine after every single run, it was fun. It was an incredible experience. I got to be on Fox Sports a couple of times, which was cool. You could definitely tell which one is me, because it's like you have skinny guy, Spence. Right?
skinny guy, tall bastard.
Yeah, exactly. So I was what was called the rack technician. So I did the pistons and and basically everything for the bottom of the block. So my job was to take them out, measure the connecting rods, all that other stuff, make sure it's good to go for another run. But I also got to choose which ones were bad. We had a special drawer in the trailer to where Doug could come in, sign them, give them away to the fans, which honestly, coolest thing about going to an NHRA race is just walking around and people just hand parts away. Like this is an all aluminum or forged, whatever part you could think of off of a dragster that just did 300 miles an hour. And you just get to take it home with you. I mean, that's just freaking cool. Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of aspects of NHRA that I was like, man, like if we could somehow incorporate this into monster trucks, it would just be a whole nother ball game, because they have, they bring all the corporate sponsors into, they have a whole tent with like cooks and everything. I can't remember exactly the top of my head what it's called, but basically
like the hospitality
hospitality tent. Thank you. So like they cooked food. They were amazing people. It was always great food too. You know, they cooked for all the crew and drivers and everything. And it was just like this awesome camaraderie, but it was more or less the upheld professionalism that I really liked, because you wore your crew shirt only at the starting line. So only for TV time is the only time you're wearing your crew shirt. When you're back at the pits, crew shirt's off, you're in your polo, everything's tucked in, and you are thrashing on this engine to get it ready for the next run, if you make it. Unfortunately, the time I was there at Coletta, we didn't really make it past round one, like at all. I think the very first time we went to Phoenix, we got number one qualifier. So somewhere I have one of those yellow hats that says number one qualifier. And so I got one of those. So that's cool as heck. I have a Craftsman Truck Series yellow hat or whatever. But that was it. Like after that, like we could not get past round one. And it was like there was just a lot of mood, and there was a lot of like personalities that really bumped heads or some altercations. And by the time we got to Charlotte, the 4-wide race, that was kind of like, that was my last race. And I had to have a conversation with our car chief and just say, hey man, like I can't keep doing this anymore. Unfortunately, I lied at the time and said, yeah, I'm going to go get a job at this tow truck company back in Michigan that's going to pay better because I need to make money. In reality, Trantina's blown my phone up, want me to come to Minnesota and come work on his monster truck team. And it's like, drag racing, monster trucks. I'm going to go work on the big, stupid tractors. Yeah. Have fun. So I don't regret that decision. It is bittersweet that the very next season, Doug wins the championship. So it's like, cool, but also, dang it.
But I will say that was a very overdue championship.
Oh, 100%.
Like he came up so many times in second place to Tony Schumacher. You know, there was the infamous, I don't know if you know, the infamous The Run in Pomona. I forget what year it was, but Doug was going to win the championship, but Tony had to set, I think it was low elapsed time, speed record, and win in the final round to beat Doug, and he did it.
Yep.
But the funny thing is, his crew chief at the time, Alan Johnson, who works for Coletta now, Alan Johnson. Yep. I find that so funny. Like at one point, they were so set on destroying Doug, and now the dude's basically his crew chief. And like it's so funny as a drag racing fan. I'm like, that is the funniest thing ever, in my opinion. Yeah.
Now, this is the part you might hate me for. So Charlotte, my very last race, right? And with drag racing, so you know, it's very much hurry up and wait. It's hurry up, get everything done, get to the starting line, or you know, basically the waiting line essentially to get to the track, right?
Yeah.
So we're all kind of gathered around the car or the golf cart, right? And you know, we're in our crew shirts, we're getting ready for our run and everything. And here comes this gentleman, kind of a short, like, well, everyone's short compared to me, let's be honest. So I mean, he was a little dude, black t-shirt and everything. He said TSR on his shirt, whatever, had some glasses, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like he's just kind of come over, because everyone in the pits, like I guess everyone hangs out with one another. It's kind of like monster trucks, like no one cares like, you know, who you are. Everyone wants to like, you know, work together, right? But when it's race time, you got your team, we got our team, we're going to try and beat you. But when it's in the pits, people like really get along, right? So I didn't think anything of it. I don't really know anybody. I'm just kind of chilling out, right? And I'm just minding my own business. And here comes this dude in a polo. He just looks at me. He's like, holy crap, remind me not to mess with you. And I'm like, sure thing, dude. No problem. And he just walks away. My buddy comes up to me. He's like, do you have any idea who that was that just talked to you? I said, no. Like, I saw he had TSR, so I'm assuming he works for Tony Stewart. He's like, no, you idiot. That was Tony Stewart. I'm like, oh, so Tony Stewart doesn't want to mess with me. Cool. Awesome. I got to talk to Smoke.
Oh my God. That is absolutely great. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like only stuff like that happens in NHRA. Like, I swear to God, like I got to go to one race. I didn't get to see any of the cars run, which I've still not been baptized by Nitro, which pisses me off.
The first time I've been baptized by Nitro was on the starting line.
Oh, dude, it's my goal. Like, I want the whole. I'm not gonna wear a gas mask. I want the whole experience. I want to come out of there looking like I just watched The Notebook and I'm a girl. That's how bad I want that. But I remember, like, the cool thing about NHRA is you don't have to buy an extra pit pass. It's included in your ticket. You get to meet the drivers. I sat out in front of John Force's. This is 2005 Bristol. It rained the day we were there because we were down there visiting family. It rained the day there. I sat in front of his damn pit all day. Sat on the ground, like waiting to meet him. I met Cruz Pedregon. I met Eric Medlin. Rest in peace. I got to meet Jimmy Prock, who's like one of the best crew chiefs now.
Mm-hmm.
He was still amazing then, but like stuff like that, like NHRA is such a cool sport if you think about it, because your tickets and all access pass. Well, you can't go to the starting line and stuff, but like there's so much interaction with it. That's why I love it. And I'm so excited for the US Nationals this weekend.
And honestly, that's one of the main things I wish monster trucks would bring back to it, is because, you know, you get that kind of hospitality when it comes to independent shows. But when it comes to like the big top of the line, you know, going to the Monster Jam shows, like I hate saying it, but you got to pay an arm and a leg in order to get these experiences. And I really feel bad for people that, you know, you go to the World Finals and there's maybe like you want to meet everybody, right? But there's not enough time. I know the Gravedigger line's got to be insane.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's a whole day ordeal, but I feel like there's just not enough time, and the organization needs to be just a little bit better to kind of accommodate people so they get a chance to meet and interact with their favorite drivers. Because like you said, you got to hang out there all day to wait and talk with your favorite driver. And with, you know, World Finals, it's like you have a slim window to hopefully be able to meet with them, right?
Yeah, like this year I wanted to finally meet Dennis. I had 2 crew shirts made, one for autographs, which I got quite a few autographs. But as soon as I got to Dennis's line and doors basically had opened up at that point, the line was already cut off. It's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. I mean, I wish they'd kind of bring World Finals back to being like more of a 3-day ordeal. I don't understand. Like, I kind of get it, but having it as like 2 separate stadium shows, that was kind of like, I still watched it. I still watched it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Hate me all you want, but as soon as Two Wheel Skills came up, I just went and did other things. Like, I just didn't pay attention to it at all.
Like I was there, and besides the heat, I had fun. I had more fun at this one than I did LA, honestly. Like, the racing in LA was amazing. The freestyle in LA sucked. I'll admit that. Like, it wasn't it was a track. The track was a truck eater. But like this year, like I had a lot of fun. Like, I had so many more buddies. I'm hoping to go back next year. Like, as long as it's on the West Coast, I'm going to go, because I love big, dumb, stupid trucks that do cool stuff. And that's just the end all be all of it. But, you know, you ended your time with Kalitta, ending your, little stint in drag racing, and you went over to work for Triple B. And that is such a odd topic.
Yeah.
Because like, you were involved with the unveil of Triple B, in the podcast you were a part of, the Throttle Out show.
Mm-hmm.
And that ruffled so many feathers in the industry, just the introduction to Trantina alone. And people may not know, like, he was involved in monster trucks before this as well, with his truck Tarantula, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. I believe it was Rat Nasty, then eventually Tarantula. I might be backwards, but I know he had Rat Nasty first.
So how did all this come about? Because the whole Triple B saga is a very interesting story that takes lots of twists and turns. And somehow I'm involved in this story at some point as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to I understand James ruffled some feathers. There's a lot of other people that ruffled some feathers in Triple B. I'm going to keep this as professional as humanly possible, and I'm not going to put words in other people's mouths. Everything that happened was just from my perspective. I won't go too far into it, but there was a lot of hype. Like, I was extremely excited coming in, and in the beginning I drove the Carolina Crusher ride truck, right? My background was with the BKT ride truck, and I think I got to work with the Gravedigger 11 for a little bit. I was thinking about if I was going to stay there, helping out with the Cedar Fair stuff, but I tried sitting in the driver's seat of those two, of Digger and Megalodon, or XL Gravedigger, the one that looks like he got stung by a bee and like all bowed out. But there was just no way somebody of my size and stature would be able to sit in that driver's seat for a very long time. So thankfully I stuck with BKT as long as I did. But So that was kind of the original thought. Is like, hey, you're going to come in, you're going to work with the Carolina Crusher ride truck. We need a ride truck guy. And I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. Very first show, Brad, I broke the truck.
You just can't have anything nice, damn it.
None of us can. So we go out there and talk about interesting short saga. That's puts it nicely. I will say this. So one of the greatest human beings I've ever had the privilege of meeting when I came up to Triple B was Josh Baumgartner. He was one of our managers, and it's a breath of fresh air being a big dude, and there's another big dude who also is, who's an owner and driver. So I'm just like, holy crap, like there's a chance, like I could drive, tell the full story. Yeah, I know, you're there. And so we had 2 shows. I think we did a Friday and a Saturday at James Trentino's track, Granite City Motor Park. And the very first day that we're driving around, I haven't even got a chance to really drive Carolina Crusher at this point, right? So I'm just trying to get used to this truck, and it is a very much cobbled together old girl. Like this thing it's got some years under. So there's a lot of bugs we need to fix out of this poor truck. So I can't remember if it was the first show or the second show, but anyway, James calls all the other drivers over to the pit area, and they're going to have a driver's meeting. Well, driver's meeting is going on as I'm still trying to finish up rides before the show starts. I'm coming back in the middle of the driver's meeting, and I swear it was like an old-timey cartoon because you just hear the truck go, puh, puh, puh. All eyes from the driver's meeting looks at the idiot in the ride truck, like as to what just happened with Crusher. And I'm like, I just do this. I'm like, I don't know. It just died, right? So they come over. Turns out the fuel pickup line was corroded and fell into the fuel tank. So that was a nice, quick little fix, like we were able to put back together. Finish up that night of the shows. So Friday wasn't nearly as busy. Saturday was more or less going to be the busy show. So I'm doing pit party, and the truck is still underpowered. I don't know if it was a carburetor issue at the time, but eventually we kind of tuned it up to where it was a little bit better. I don't know if it was a carburetor or if I was just scared of the thing because there was just nothing for safety. And they kind of had me in like a very tight area to try and like turn around the truck because I'm just trying to do figure eights. I'm kind of on the banking a little bit, and I'm just trying to kind of get a feel for the truck. Well, I come down from the banking and I'm on the brake pedal to try and like slow down and hurry up and turn. And the reason I'm trying to do that is because there's some brush and it's just like tall grass. There's some equipment to help with the racetrack. And I'm like, I don't want to hurt any of this, right? And there's people on the back of the truck. So I'm in the middle of doing rides. So I'm trying to slow it down. And again, I'm doing like less than 5 miles an hour, but it feels fast when you're in a monster truck. And I'm on the brake. You hear squealing noise, followed by a pop. The brake pedal snapped in half, and I lost all brakes. Luckily, I was going slow enough to where I basically kind of rolled into the brushes, and I nudged, I think it was like a grader or something to kind of help with grading the dirt track. And I came to a stop, and the first thing I did, I unbuckled, I looked behind me, and I'm just like, is everybody okay? Is everyone all right? This snot-nosed little kid. I'm concerned. I'm like, is everyone okay? Is everyone okay? And this little boy perks up. He's like, excuse me, sir, but you're not a really good driver.
Oh, snap.
I'm like, I'm about to throw you off this damn truck. Let me tell you that. So I feel bad because there's already so much going on with the show that's going wrong. Like people are missing intros, like trucks are breaking. And I had to call James and be like, hey, Crusher's down. I snapped the brake pedal in half. I don't know what you want me to do here. So they had to come pull me and like drag me over the pits and everything. But first ever show, like I was there on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Show was Saturday. Like I had very little time to kind of get acclimated with the trucks and what was going on. And unfortunately, a lot of other people didn't really have a lot of time either. So Mike Rowley was actually the very first employee at Triple B Motorsports. He got to drive Barely Tame. Yeah, your face was priceless. Yeah, thanks for a reminder. But you know what, Josh? I wish I had, I still have the video on my GoPro. I'd be more happy to share it, but I would love to see the look on your face when I beat you in Boss Gator and you rolled over here in Minnesota. It's still one of my favorite moments.
Snap.
I joke, Josh is an amazing competitor.
If
I know he doesn't want to wreck his truck because it's a beautiful truck, but part of me wants to think he did that on purpose just so I could win. Because Gator was not powerful at all. But anyway, yeah, that whole first show was just it was very interesting. It was the tire. Okay. Yep. It was the tire.
The tire.
Yeah, the tire. There's always an excuse whenever he wrecks or loses a race. It's like, oh, it was the starting light. It was the tire. The crush cars were off weird. It's always something, right? So anyway, Mike Rowley comes back and something with the knuckle on Barely Tame was all broken. Well, it's been years since I was in thrash mode for monster trucks, and it almost like kind of spurred, right? So I'm running in the trailer. I'm trying to grab tools. I'm trying to grab this, and I'm just running around, right? Well, I'm not going to say who, but one of the other employees that got hired there, he's just kind of walking around. So I kind of like, hey, like, let's go. We got to get this fixed. We can get it back out, right? And they blurt out at me, it's like, take it easy, Spence. It's not Monster Jam. I'm just like, it doesn't matter if it's Monster Jam or not. We have a show. The truck needs to get back out there. What do you mean? Who cares if it's not Monster Jam?
Yeah.
You have a job. These people paid good money to come out there and, watch these trucks come down and put on a show. We're talking about a part that could, if we got a couple of us in on this, it's going to only knock like maybe 5-10 minutes. I mean, these are petty bones. So granted, I had zero experience with petty bones at this point because everything at Monster Jam was Clark's. Yeah. So I'm figuring this out as we go, trying to get this put together for Mike so he could go back out there for freestyle. Meanwhile, intermission hits. I got to leave whoever's there to help him out and go and do rides for intermission. So I'm jumping in between rides and helping Mike. Luckily, he was able to get back out there because I think that was his debut show with Barely Tame. But man, what a roller coaster of a weekend that was. Just very first time going out there and helping with Triple B. I wish it got better moving forward. We unfortunately there's a lot of diversity within that team. Wish it got better. I really do.
Well, who knows? Eventually, the whole story might come out at some point. But then you started on this journey to start driving a race truck, and as a bigger man myself, I'm the 350 mark, and I want to make that change. But it's very hard when food's delicious, and my wife cooks very good food. You lost 100 pounds.
Yep.
And I was watching the journey. Like, it was very inspiring, like for me as a bigger man, to see another bigger man, do the work and lose the weight and to start driving. How did that all come about? When was the wheels in motion to be like, okay, we're going to get, this big guy, and shoehorn him into a race truck?
Yeah, shoehorn is an understatement. Let me tell you, we needed a big tub of Crisco to get my big ass in that truck.
But, you need an industrial sized, tub of it.
Right, exactly. So I actually sent James a message saying, the way I worded it probably scared him because we're still new and we're still figuring things out, and there's some feelings in certain aspects, and I'm like, you know what, I need to shoot my shot here. So I sent a message saying, hey, I know you're busy, but I'd like to have a conversation with you about my employment here at Triple B. So he took time out of his day with his 30, 40 some odd tow truck companies to come in. And I sat down with him, Baumgartner, and our other manager at the time, Derek. And I assumed they were like worried that I was like going to quit. Right. But I laid it out there for him. I said, listen, is the only reason why I'm here is to be a crew guy and to drive ride truck, or is there a chance that I can get a chance to drive? And he was honest with me. And that's the one thing. I don't want somebody to give me false hope. Like, if there is a chance, I want you to lay it out there and be totally honest with me that if you give me an opportunity, I'm going to do everything I can to uphold my end of the bargain so that way I can get that opportunity. Yeah. And he said, my main concern with you driving is your size. Back when in 2020, I went through this massive, terrible depression. I ate my feelings away. I didn't get heavily involved in drugs and drinking, but my comfort was food and drive through. And I hated myself. Right. So I still am a big guy. I still got a lot of ways to go. But, he said, if you can lose 100 pounds, if you can make that promise and you are going to strive for that goal, if you make do on your end, I'll make do on mine. And he's a man of his word, and he absolutely did. And it wasn't just that driving factor, but I also had Josh. you know, he introduced me to, I think it's like R Factor or Factor X or something like that. It's this like meal supplementary type deal. It's like healthy meals that get mailed to you, kind of like a good, like an Uber Eats, almost like it just get mailed to you, whatever it is called. Josh also went through a weight loss journey as well. So he's giving me kind of tidbits and like things to look for, things to strive for. And I hit the ground running. Like as soon as I basically was told, like, there is a slim chance that if you hit this goal, I'll let you turn loose. Factor. Thank you. I'll turn you loose in a race truck. And I went to the gym before work. My breakfast was literally a protein shake and a bottle of water. Went to the gym before work, go to the shop, work on monster trucks. Lunch comes around. Everyone else is going to Raising Cane's chicken. I'm going to the gym a second time, and this is Planet Fitness. Same thing as breakfast, you know, not the healthiest thing, but, you know, I'm trying to keep calories down, staying active so I could just shred the pounds off as fast as possible. And I really appreciate you telling me, like, it was inspirational. You could see the difference, because at the time it was hard for me to see the results because I was focused so much on how much I was trying to lose. I was just so focused on the number. And I'd go back to work sometimes. And I'm like, man, I am just dragging. Like, I am sore. I'm tired. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You got to push through. It's like, how bad do you want this? Like, you've wanted this your entire freaking life. Don't stop. Keep pushing. And I managed to, like, through hell or high water, I made it. And, you know, I had this thing kind of like embedded in my head, you know, talking to my mom about why I was pushing for what I was pushing. You know, I remember I go back to that conversation I had with my brother where he said, I hope to see you drive one day. So no matter how bad it got, no matter how much I wanted to just give in and go, it's like, screw it. I don't want a salad. I want a Big Mac. Screw it. I don't want to have chicken and rice. I want to go get Taco Bell. Right. Like, I had that in my head where it's like, do it for Blake, do it for Blake, do it for Blake. Just keep pushing. Don't stop. Like, remember what you're doing. And I made it. And man, that was quite a journey. And I remember I'm kind of shaking a little bit just thinking about that day. Was Derek pulled me in the office, and Derek was James's cousin that helped run the shop while James was running all the tow trucks and everything. So him and Josh more or less ran the shop together. And I remember getting pulled in the office, and I'm thinking, like, man, I'm in trouble. I forgot to do something. And we're coming up on the Granite City show again. And I'm thinking, like, oh man, like, he's upset with me or something. Like, I always have that anxiety. Like, if a higher up needs to talk to me, I'm in trouble, right?
Oh,
like,
dude, I have that exact same fear, dude.
Yeah, like, I'm not used to somebody that is of a higher superiority to me to like praise me, right? And so they sat me down, and they're like, we need to talk to you about something, and we wanted to bring you and talk to you separately. And they said, we want you to drive Ice Cream Man at the Granite City show. And I had to go in the parking lot and call my mom, because I started crying that I did it.
Yep. Oh, did we lose him? Austin, you there? Oh no, he is frozen on my end. Is he frozen for you guys too? His computer crashed. He will be back. Definitely such an inspiring story. You know, it definitely inspires me to, you know, strive for more myself. He will be back. Yeah, his computer crashed. He will be back. Now you're stuck with the awkward Canadian. By the way, I see you in the chat, Josh. I don't know if you've come on the show, but if you haven't, or if you want to come back, please message either me or Cheech. Be good to have you on again. Shout out to Mike Bev up in here. Yeah. Mike Bev, another accomplished designer. He's created a lot of cool stuff for BeamNG, which we'll be getting into a little bit of Beam talk once Austin is back and we get to that portion, because Austin's heavily involved with the Leafer mod for BeamNG. Zen Utility, I'm hooked on this story. This is awesome. Definitely, I am as well. It's so cool seeing stories of people. Hey, he is back. He is back. He is back.
This crash was brought to you by I Buy Power PCs. So
that's why I so funny story before we get back into what you were talking about. So we're talking about computers. When my other computer crashed, it's kind of behind me. It was a pre-built from Best Buy. Great computer at the time. But the power supply crashed. I didn't even know. So I thought everything was gone. And it was like, I would talk to my wife. I'm like, I need to build a computer. I went way above budget.
Oh boy,
on this computer.
Oh no, Brad, you shouldn't have.
But hey, trust me, it runs Photoshop, Illustrator, Beam, everything smoothly. And it is paid. It's, with some of the stuff I've done in the drag racing world and monster trucks, it is paid for itself. But if you build your own computer, be aware that you will go over budget. It happens. But so back with your story, you had to go outside and call your mom and say, hey, this is happening.
Yeah, I literally did. She was in the middle of working throughout the day. And mind you, all my family's back in Michigan, right? And I called her. I said, hey, I know you're working. Can I talk to you for a minute? And she's thinking, oh no, are you guys pregnant? Like immediately thinking like worst case scenario, right? And I said, and I told her, I said, I met my goal. They're letting me drive. And my mom screeched over the phone. She was like, you did it. You freaking did it. I can't let us know when the show is. We're going to drive all the way out there. We're going to come see you drive. And it was a very emotional day for me. And I was just running around, I was just besides myself, like, holy crap. Like I started this journey in 2016 and it's 2022. So it's like, I pursued this for so long as something that I wanted the chance to do. And I got to do it. And I am incredibly grateful. So regardless of what everyone's opinion is on Triple B, regardless of what was said on social media, regardless of what you think about James or whatever happened, right? James was a man of his word and he gave me my opportunity. And I'm forever grateful for that. It does suck the way everything went down and what happened with the team and how everything fell apart. There's only so much you can speculate online, outside looking in, sitting there saying, well, if so-and-so did this, if they did this, if they did whatever, how it is with people, they sit there and say things on the internet, think they know everything. They don't know what actually happened behind closed doors. And in my honest opinion, with how everything went down, James got screwed. But again, that is with what I know, keeping that to myself. I'm not going to slam names, slander anybody, but for how everything went down, James got the raw end of the deal and he had every right to be upset, unfortunately. So, but anyway, moving forward, I got a chance to I find it ironic, and I don't know if this was intended. I find it hilarious that I went through this process to lose 100 pounds, weight loss, right? And they shoved me an ice cream man.
like that's the most ironic truck they could have thrown you in. Like, hey, this dude just lost a lot of weight. Let's throw him in the truck that promotes sugar and diabetes.
Well, funny you say that. So I always with my background in ride trucks, you don't win when you're on the track. You win at pit party. You win when you interact with the fans, right? So when my mom came up to my family, my mom, my grandparents, my uncle, they all drove all the way up to come watch me drive for the first time. My grandmother did not like it. She's like, this is dangerous. Like, this is very dangerous and loud. Like, oh my gosh. Like, we had freestyle motocross there. And every time there's a bike going up to do a jump, you just see my grandmother doing this.
My wife does the same thing. She gets so nervous during the FMX. She's like, what if they fall? I'm like, they're trained to do this. They're trained professionals.
There's helmets. There's a landing pad. The dirt is kind of soft.
Yeah.
Like they'll be all right. But anyway, I had this idea the night before the actual event. I should have planned this way earlier, but I decided to go get a bunch of Freezy Pops from the grocery store because it's like I may not win anything, but I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna just hand out free popsicles, right? Like, hey, ice cream man, I don't have drumsticks, but here's a popsicle, right?
Yeah.
Didn't plan that through because I went from trying to hand out popsicles to race day. I'm like, so here's some juice tubes. The best part, and again, hindsight 2020, I should have thought about this earlier, but I'm handing out these popsicles like little kids. You know, the parents are like opening it, handing it out, and this night. And I cleared with this with James and them. They're like, I don't care. Like, it's your money. Like, do whatever, right? So I'm doing this, and this old guy comes up to me, and he's like, hey, what do I need to do to open this? I'm like, oh, I don't have any scissors. Just use your teeth. He's like, what if you don't got any? I'm like, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't think that through. So, yeah. But I will say this, I wanted to make it a point that the very first hit that I made in a monster truck was broadsiding a car.
Hell
And
yeah.
because you know, I grew up watching monster trucks. That's what they are known for. That was the first thing I wanted to do. And James had these two cars perfectly side by side out there, and they had me going out number one for hit. And I said, that's the first thing I'm hitting. I want to hit crush cars, right? And I go out there, my adrenaline's pumping. I am just beside myself emotionally, and I get out there, and right before I hit the cars, I say, Blake, I hope you're with me. And I mad the throttle. I do a almost perfect sky wheelie. I come down, and I got the itch. I got the bug. I'm like, that was probably the most satisfying thing ever. And I'm like, I did it. Like, I just crushed a car. Holy crap. And mind you, as a fan, you're just like, that's stupid. Me, 5-year-old me, is screaming inside. Like, you just crushed a freaking car. Like, and I'm like, and it comes down to like that moment with Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do with my hands because I'm like, crap, I have a second hit. What do I do?
The car was great. The car was great.
Start putting your hands out.
But the car.
The car was great. But so I'm like, I gotta do another hit. Crap. Donut. So I'm like driving around trying to find a spot. I'm like, right here. And I go to whipping a donut, and it felt like I was going like mock Jesus spinning around, right? And then I watched the footage, and I'm just like, man, I sucked. It's like, man, that was terrible.
See, and at that point, you're like, where's the reset button? Where's the reset button? Let me try this again.
So the best part about that is Josh saying right there, he's like, I was in Illinois and I heard you. He was with Mechanical Mischief at a different show. And we had all the rest of the house trucks for this show. And I go back to the pits, and I'm sitting there, and I'm gripping the steering wheel. And Derek, the other manager, comes up, and he goes to crawl into the truck. And he's like, how you doing, big guy? And I am like, lip is like vibrating, like tears are running down my face. And he's just like, you did it, bud. Your brother would be proud. And he got out of the truck. And I like, as soon as he walked away to where I hope he was without a hearing distance, I smacked through where I'm like, yeah, I did it. Like, I'm freaking out. And I'm pretty sure everybody in the trucks next to me heard me because I heard a couple of them giggling and laughing. I get along with them, so it's fine. But they know how much this means to me, right? And I just loved it. I can say the very first time I ever lined up in a race and raced side by side, straight line, crush car, monster truck racing, I beat Carolina Crusher in the first round as a rookie.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'll take it. I have the whole thing up on my YouTube page if anyone wants to watch it and actually see how bad I was. So,
but like at that point, you're living the dream of all of us. You know, like all this hard work, all this dedication you put through. You lost 100 freaking pounds. You know, you've been through so much, losing family, and now you're doing it. Like, that is one of the most inspirational stories I've heard in a long time, Austin. Like, and I truly mean that. Like, that inspires me to keep pushing forward with my design goals. Hell, I still, even at 34 years old, I still want to be behind the race truck. You know, I'll take the same journey as you, losing 100 pounds. I'll do it. Like, if that means I get to live my dream for at least from a moment, I'll freaking do it. Like you're inspiring me to like keep pushing forward on my dreams and goals.
Dude, don't ever let anyone tell you can't do something. Because like I said, there were friends in high school, friends in college that they all just kind of look at you like you're crazy, like you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it. And even people when I worked at Monster Jam, like some of these old techs that have been there for years, they sit there and they'll sit there and say, nah, man, like you can't, you're not going to drive, like you just don't have what it takes. And that old quote from the Goonies movie, Goonies never say die. And I refuse to take no for an answer. And it's like, if I want something bad enough, I'm through hell or high water, I'm taking it. I'm going after it. And that was my debut. I got to do it. And honestly, for a little while, I was worried that I wasn't that good because I was back in the Carolina Crusher ride truck. And, I was kind of getting in that mindset where I'm like, you know what? I got to do it. I made a debut. I jumped a truck, I could die a happy man, right? Like, I did it, I went out and made it happen. So I'm back in Carolina Crusher. I'm doing my typical ride truck stuff. And, that's when further down the deal is starting to kind of come together where he's partnering with Torgensen and all this stuff going on. I don't know a lot about the inner workings. There's a lot of speculations. There's a lot of red tape. I don't want to get into it. I just know we did a lot of Monster Truck Nitro, and eventually they brought back the Nitro or the Monster X Tour. So it was cool kind of seeing like, hey, we got more shows we're being booked for, a lot of places I've never been before. Not sure what to expect, but hey, I'm for this, right? And that was when I think it was when Monster X Tour was coming back, was when they were like, hey, we're gonna put you in Boss Gator. And that was wild because I remember there's a clip on Throttle Out where I remember telling Trantina, you put me in a truck, I don't care if it's pink and sponsored by Barbie, I'll drive anything. I don't care. I just want to drive a race truck. And so they decided, hey, we're going to put the big bearded Michigan boy in a giant alligator. And I just rolled with it, man. Like, it was a lot of fun. I mean, as you can tell, like I had a blast doing it. So,
well, and that must have been such a unique truck because, that I don't know how long that body lasted under J.R. McNeil's ownership. But having that in such a unique concept body, how was that for you? Because Ice Cream Man, excuse me, it had a cab of a normal. I think it was. I don't know if they switched over to the Chevy front end at that point, or if it was still the Dodge.
No, we did the Chevy, so it was still kind of the same wrap design. And I understand like we had it. Shout out to Ethan Saunders, RC monster truck racer up there in New York. He actually put together a Beam Monsters or some kind of concept for a revamp of Ice Cream Man. And instead of having like your general design on the side of like, your standard ice cream flavors, he made ice cream flavors relating to the other trucks at Triple B Motorsports. And I wish we got to use that because it was such a cool concept design. But unfortunately, it is what it is. We just kind of switched the front clip over to a Chevy instead of the Dodge and just ran with it.
Kind of funny you mentioned that. I'm looking back. I'm looking at my other screen because I even did a kind of a concept as well of an Ice Cream Man. I don't know if you remember seeing that or not.
I don't think I remember seeing that one.
So my wife, when we first met, she was teaching in a school about 2.5 hours away from where I live now. And I came to her school and there was a monster truck show in Dawson Creek coming up. It was, I forget the promoter, but I did a thing where if the kids drew their own concept, I'd do the artwork for it in Illustrator. I'd kind of convert it. And one girl did a truck called the Drippy Dip. And it was kind of like an ice cream inspired truck. And the design that I did, I'm like, ooh, this would look good as an Ice Cream Man. So I'm looking for it right now to bring it up on screen just to show, because it was like, oh, I found it. Here we go. Let me copy this.
I got to see this. I'm actually
this was in 2022, actually. Come on, save. But it's funny that you mentioned it because I'm like, I did something similar. Let me bring it up here.
It's hard to believe 2022 was 3 years ago, man. Like
I know life is getting crazy. But once I show you this, so here it is here.
Oh man, that thing is sick.
Yeah,
I would have rocked that. I would have absolutely rocked that thing.
Yeah, and it was like I just wanted to do something kind of crazy. I found these little ice cream dudes on there, and I kind of made my own kind of weird Dodge with a bed cap kind of truck to make it look good. Even the rims I wanted to do like multicolored, like each four-link bar is a different color. Like I just wanted to go all out crazy with it, right? But when you brought that up, that brought me right back to that design that I did. But you started driving Boss Gator, and then things started getting more stuff was rumbling about Triple B and what was going on, and then you ended up making your leave from Triple B. How did all that kind of happen?
So I had a ton of fun rocking Boss Gator, and honestly, I had probably one of my favorite teammates out there. Obviously, I got to run with Mike Rowley for a little bit when I was driving the Carolina Crusher ride truck. But we had Stanley Hernandez, who came in, who had experience with the Z2er, who used to run Country Boy. He got to run Lone Wolf. So they decided that they were going to put the 3D bodies together. So me and him got to run together up and down the West Coast. Awesome stand-up guy. I had a lot of fun with Stanley, and honestly, Stanley, I kind of saw you were in the chat earlier, buddy. I hope you're doing well. I miss you guys. There's so many of the guys that I miss running with, and I'm gonna be honest. The reason why I haven't been very vocal in the monster truck scene in over a year is because honestly, man, like I feel like I kind of left my family, and it almost was like a betrayal in a sense, and one of the reasons I left was, one of the main focuses was, coming home and eventually starting a family. Not going to go too far into exactly why that is, but that is not happening anymore. And I'll just leave that at that. And, now after it'll come October, it'll be a year since I've been at my last show. My very last show I did was at, it was in Des Moines, Iowa, and I was announcing. And I actually had multiple different hats actually at Triple B. So I went from driving a ride truck, I got to drive a race truck, started out in Ice Cream Man, then eventually Boss Gator. And then when everything was kind of transpiring and moving around, I announced a couple of shows. I helped out with the production side of things. So there's a lot that I kind of had my hands in when it came to working on the team, but seeing how much I was gone, how much I was going to be, away, and that being a driving factor for coming back and being home more. It's like, okay, maybe it's time to hang up the helmet. I did it. I made a career out of it, I guess. But this was all just within 1 year, right? And I felt like I had so much more in the tank, but I didn't know. It was very unsure as to what the direction of the team was going. And again, I'm not going to name any names here, but there was a couple main issues with personnel as far as like the driving roster with Triple B. And I'm not going to sit here and say I was like one of the greatest drivers. I'm not a master mechanic. I don't know everything. There was multiple times where I've had to ask for help. Shout out to Lee Plato and all those awesome West Coast guys, because I had numerous problems where the truck couldn't stay running, and those guys stepped in to lend me a hand. Like, what am I looking like? What the heck am I missing here, right? So those guys helped out, and it started to become very gatekeepy amongst different trailers, where like they thought they were above helping their fellow teammates out. It's like, we're all part of the same team here. What are you doing? So not only was there that, we had drivers that hated interacting with fans. And, one of the things that I love most is like, you show that appreciation to, the people that are coming there to support you. Yeah. Without little kids, without families, without moms, dads, grandparents, you don't have a job. And I remember my favorite show, my main favorite memory was when I got to do a show with Boss Gator up in Clio, Michigan, just outside of Flint. That was my first and only home state show. And I tried to put all fear and everything behind. I wasn't going to roll it over or anything, but like massive family turnout. I didn't win anything. I didn't win racing or freestyle or nothing, but like, that was like my coup de grace, my favorite show. But, with me and Stanley, we didn't have a helper. We didn't have not a technician, but like a second pair of hands just to help out. So it was just us. I remember going to a show. It was me and Stanley in this other trailer, and we're out there running an event. And again, you can look it up, but I'm not going to say who was there. Me and Stanley and these other 2 trucks are out there doing this event. I think it was Turlock, California. And, we're getting through the show. Me and Stanley are able to make it to the second show. Well, I do a racing pass, and there's this loud vibration, crackling noise coming from the engine compartment. I have no idea what's going on. Like, we just spent the last week trying to, I broke a rocker. We're trying to get everything timed and dialed in and everything good to go, right? So I jump out of the truck. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Well, other 2 trucks from the first show broke, and they're out for the second show. You would think as teammates, you would step up, step over, and help your fellow teammates out to get them back out there on the track. Stanley was having issues with his truck. I think it was a fuel issue to where it was overfueled. Like, it was just a ton of fuel dumping in the engine to where it was just flooding the thing. And I was trying to figure out where this like rattling issue was, because I didn't want to blow, a rod out the bottom of the oil pan. Yeah. So me and Stanley got our own problems with each of our trucks. One of the guys from the one trailer, he just goes into the toter home and just sits and chills out, waits till the end of the show. The other one is more worried about tiring down his truck and get ready to load out and leave the next day, just leaving us to survive to our own devices to try and get it fixed and back out there. Thankfully, Lee Plato, Josh Garrity, all those awesome guys on the West Coast, they stepped in for both of us to try and help us get us back out there so we could finish the show. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think Stanley was able to get back out there, but I unfortunately wasn't. And turns out the mount for the idler pulley was snapped, and we had to get that all figured out. But it was that was just kind of like an introduction. Like, there's clearly some like ego problems going on with this team, and that kind of was like the sudden downfall to what was going on, because after a group vacated and left, we had some other younger guys came in to drive trucks. And some of them have moved on, and they work for very reputable, respectful teams. Tommy Veralone, he's off there running with DCT Power Sports. Brett Falvey off with Send It Motorsports. Extremely proud of those guys, and I hope they go as far as they can, and they do extremely well. I'm very proud of those guys. Oh yeah. But we had some other guys that, they wanted the glory of driving a monster truck, but not everything that came with it. They hated doing interviews. They didn't like talking to people. They hated pit party. And I remember when we did the Clio, Michigan show, there was a line of people coming up to Boss Gator. And again, I'm nobody special. I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm Dennis Anderson or Tom Mintz. Like, I'm mediocre at best when driving a race truck. Like, I was still learning. And the reason, and I even asked, like, why is everyone lining up? It was because I was getting on my level, on my knee and talking to these little kids and, giving them high fives, giving them hugs, and, asking them, are they excited about the show? They wanted to, like, the dad picks them up and they want to touch the teeth on Boss Gator, and I let them. And that is a core memory. Like some of these guys don't understand, like, we are creating memories. Like, who cares who goes out there and wins racing or freestyle? No one cares. We are creating memories, and we want these people to want to come back next year. If you're going to sit there and be all broody with your hands crossed and you acting like you don't want to be there for pit party, why are you here in the first place?
Exactly. Like, I remember when I had realization like that when I was helping out with the straight up team doing the ride truck, seeing the kids come up and down the ladder, helping them off, giving them high fives. That was us. Those kids, that was us at one point in our lives. And these people that you're mentioning that come in, just being broody, that's not the mentality you have. You have to remember that was you at one point. You were the kid with those aspirations and dreams. Now you're driving a truck and you want to be a complete asshole? No, then get out of the industry, get out of the sport. That's not what we're in here this for. Exactly. like for me, like, that's just ignorant attitude to have, because, people are looking up to you. Like how we looked up to Tom Mintz, Dennis Anderson, Fred Schaefer, all these guys. And now these, and especially kids at that time, are very, impressionable,
influential. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you're out there being an asshole, this isn't the industry for you.
No, absolutely not. And I get it. You see all the highlights and everything on YouTube, And on TV, you're like, man, I want to go out there and wad a truck up and do that. But it's like, you don't see the behind the scenes. You don't see the, one of the things I loved at Monster Jam that I got to do, and I only got to do it once. We did a Make-A-Wish deal, and there was it was like trucks for troops. So it was a bunch of people, like military veterans at this was when World Finals was in Orlando, right before COVID hit. So 2019. So I got a chance to be a part of that and, see these kids and, I don't know what kind of, stuff they're going through, right? Whether it's cancer, leukemia, whatever it may be. And their wish is to go to a monster truck show. Like, I got goosebumps just thinking about that. And like, I just want to give every single one of those kids a hug and, shake every hand or, give a hug to every one of those troops because, there's some of them are coming up there, they're paraplegic. They lost limbs. They lost a lot fighting for our country. And for me to sit here and just be like, how can I not be appreciative and care about these people? Because, at the end of the day, those of us that have been in the industry and, have worked around these things, we cuss and swear. It's like these big, stupid tractors, stupid monster trucks, we have it's a very toxic love-hate relationship, but then you have these interactions with these real life heroes that fight for our country, or these kids that are fighting these battles in an operating room. How could you sit there and put yourself on that pedestal above that to where it's like, well, I drive a monster truck, I don't care what everybody else thinks about me. Like, no, I'm sorry. Hang up your helmet, hang in your fire suit, get the hell out of here. We don't need that kind of attitude.
Exactly.
But I will say this, and the reason why I have so many feelings about this is I interacted with a young girl in Sholo, Arizona. And Stanley, if you're watching this, you remember the amount of hell that we went through this weekend. So we did a show that we were going from somewhere in California to Sholo, Arizona. Well, Josh talked about the motor that I had in my truck for Gator. Well, 2 cylinders went bye-bye. Racing against Dalton Widener. And no, it wasn't racing Dalton Widener. It was freestyle at that event. And we had to hurry up and find an engine. We didn't have a spare engine in our trailer. So we ended up going to this dude's place out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, right? And we're waiting on it, like some engine or whatever to show up. And it was mainly like a bone stock, like cast iron 496 big block Chevy. And I'm like, man, we are just going to run this thing and just pray for the best, ain't we? Unless or was this Josh's motor? I don't know. Anyway, it was like a very bare bones cast iron. Like we're gonna put this thing in the truck and pray to God that it makes it, right? So we are up from like 8 a.m. to like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we have to hurry up and haul ass all the way up to Sholo, Arizona, and we're running on very little sleep. And now Stanley had a CDL. He's a much better truck driver than me. I promise you that man can drive. So he said that he was gonna, you drive the rest of the way. And I tried to stay alert. I couldn't. I'm sorry. I'm so bad riding passenger sometimes. Like I'm awake. Just knocked out. So anyway, we drive all through the night. We get like a couple hours of sleep in Sholo. We unload the trucks. Got to run with it was your backup motor. Okay, Josh. I couldn't remember if it was your motor that I blew up or if it was the motor that we got that was your engine. So anyway, I got an engine again. Baumgartner come to save the day yet again. I probably owe him like a pizza or a steak or something at this point. Let's be honest. So anyway, we got a chance to go all the way to Sholo, Arizona. And this was a 3-show weekend. So 1 Friday, 2 Saturday. And it's a brand new motor. I'm trying to get used to it. I don't want to blow it up, but it was underpowered. So I had to completely change my driving style because, you could kind of like get up to a ramp and just whop the throttle and it's quick and it kind of picks it up. This one, you have to carry the throttle a little bit more to get into it. So I found out the hard way when the nose comes down on a truck and your belt isn't tight all the way, it hurts a lot. Yeah, my voice went up a couple octaves after that show. So it was.
You turned into Michael Jackson.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. I didn't have the white glove or anything, but I definitely had the voice for it. So the very next day, and just kind of staying back on course here as to why I have big feelings when it comes to interacting with the fans. The very last show of the night, we're getting ready for pit party, and it's hot. We're in Arizona. We're sweaty. It's a little bit miserable, and we're sitting in pit party waiting for everything to start. And the floodgates just overwhelm us. Like just a bunch of people come in for pit party, right? Well, I'm doing my normal shtick, kind of like getting on my knees, saying hi to the kids. You know, they're kind of scared of the big teeth on Gator. So I'm like, oh, you know, go pet it. It's not going to hurt you. I said, he's sleeping. You know, it's not going to bite you, whatever, right? Well, then here comes this little girl. She's about 9 to 12 years old, somewhere around that age range with her grandparents. And, you know, they come up and, you know, she's a little sheepish and shy at first. And her grandparents are like, oh, you know, it's her birthday and we're very excited for her to come here. You know, this is her first monster truck show. And I give her a high five. I'm like, it's your first monster truck show? She's like, yeah. I said, are you excited? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you've never been to one? She's like, no, I've only seen videos on YouTube and this and that. She's like, I love El Toro Loco. I said, well, my truck's cooler than El Toro Loco. I got teeth. I don't, you know, I got a Gator, not some bull with horns that flap off all the time. No offense, Fernando.
Shout out Fernburn.
Yeah, love Fernburn. I've actually raced him in rigs of rods once. So
he's too good in that too.
I know. I think he cheats, but anyway. So anyway, I'm sitting there and, you know, I'm interacting with her. She's a little sheepish and shy, but she kind of warms up to me a little bit. And she's like, this is my favorite truck. I said, it is? She's like, yeah. And she's like, can I get a Gator shirt? She's like, yeah. So, you know, she goes with her grandfather to go to the merch stand. Well, the grandmother comes up to me and she's like, I really appreciate you taking time to talk to my granddaughter. We just left the hospital. Her mother isn't doing well. So with her being her birthday, this is the only thing that we can find to, you know, kind of distract her from, you know, reality, to distract her from what's going on with her mother. Right.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm so sorry to hear that, because I know what it's like to, you know, lose somebody or have somebody that is sick, right? Like that is near and dear to my heart. And I looked at her and said, well, listen, do you guys have anywhere that you need to be immediately after the show? She's like, no, not really. I said, I understand you guys got autographs. I know you're getting merch. Do me a favor, after the show, come find me. And she's like, we hate to be a bother. I said, no, I'm serious. Come find me. So we go out there, we do the show, and I was so mad. I was about to crush my first camper. I was about to hit my very first camper. I felt it in my bones. And as soon as I line up for it, I got all neutrals. Oh my God, dude. I was so mad. I was so upset. So I do this and I'm upset, and, you know, everyone's applauding me, and they, you know, they get the record and they pull me off the track. Shout out Taylor Delaney for being an amazing announcer on that West Coast tour. I love that dude. I hope he's doing great. So anyway, they pull me to the back and I'm like, well, I'm going to uphold my promise. Like, obviously I got to do a transmission in the middle of the night, and I'm, you know, Stanley being the GOAT that he is, he's going to help me out, but I have a promise to uphold. So we go to our little autograph table that we had. We do autographs, and I see her again. I said, did you have a good time? She's like, yeah. She's like, I'm sorry your truck broke, but that was so much fun. I had a blast, you know, this and that. She's just beaming, right? I said, well, it's not over yet. I said, I got one more surprise for you. She's like, you do? I said, yep. Let me finish up with autographs, and I want to take you guys over to our trailer real quick. And she's like, really? I said, yeah, I promise you. So we finish up with autographs, and I said, you ready? She's like, yeah. So she grabs onto my my hand, and we're walking together hand in hand. And I said, you know, I've given her a full tour, like showing her Boss Gator, and like, obviously don't touch the exhaust, it's still hot. I said, well, what'd you think? She's like, this was so much fun. Boss Gator is my favorite truck. I said, well, you want to sit in it? She's like, she just eyes big as saucer. She's like, really? I said, yeah, absolutely. So I had her climb up in the truck with me, and I kind of gave her the whole tour and shebang, you know, like, you know, this is the throttle, this is the rear steer, this is this. And Danny, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I did this without asking, but, you know, I have a heart of gold. I wanted to make this kid's night. And I said, you want to see something else cool? She's like, yeah. And we fired the truck up while she was on the seat, and then we killed it. And she just gave me this big hug, and she's like, thank you for giving me the best birthday ever. And I get her out of the truck. I give her another hug, say goodbye. And her grandmother is just tears in her eyes, giving me this massive hug, stained my crew shirt and everything. Like, thanks, Graham. Now I got to wash my crew shirt. But like that story is why I have such big feelings when it comes to these drivers, these young kids that want to come in here and be like, I want to drive monster truck. I'm going to be like this. I'm going to be like that. Like, if you put yourself above those that are in the stand supporting you, you have no sense of driving a truck. I mean, that's why I have big feelings about this. Also, I'm sorry that we're at over 2 hours.
Dude,
I
don't care. I don't care. Like this has been like, I'll say it, this is one of my favorite episodes I've ever gotten to do, because like I'll say this, and you might agree with me. Like, being a bigger dude, we get looked down upon a lot.
Oh yeah,
people think that we're scary, because we're such big dudes. But I'm a gentle giant. I'm a freaking cuddly teddy bear. Like,
yeah, same.
I don't have a mean bone in my body unless you piss me off or mess with my family. Then you're going to see the grizzly bear come out. But like, it's such a good story, dude. Like I that's like, oh man, I love it.
So it's funny because I see Tilly's in the comment section, and I know he said that we got to meet up in Yakima, Washington, and it was so cool because he got to do a dual commentary with Taylor, and he was telling me about how I got 2 hours before I clock off work. Keep going.
I don't know if I'm allowed to go 2 more hours, or else my wife's gonna get mad at me and drag me out of here.
I don't got to worry about that anymore. So that's on you, bud. Sorry. Anyway, no, man, like, it was so cool to get a chance to talk with him again. Another weekend where Gator just was fighting with me. That truck bit me more than probably anybody else, because it was just a hodgepodge of a mess, like with wiring and electrical issues. But it was really cool to get a chance to talk with him, because I'm so happy to see you doing stuff with Hot Wheels, dude. You're killing it, and I hope they treat you well, and I hope you're happy with where you're at, man, because you're doing great as a host and as an announcer. I don't know if anything I said kind of helped influence you, but you just being genuine and having fun, that's the main part of it, man. And just, remember who you were when you were in those stands. Because, I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit. I was 10 years old when I made that poster. I'm 30. That thing has came with me everywhere, because it's a reminder to remember where I came from and those guys who laid out a path before me, because they're the reason why I love doing what I do today.
Yeah. And like, when I met Charlie Pock in Edmonton, like, he was very thankful that, I met, said hi to him, and, said, hey, I got to see you at one of my my legit first Monster Jam event, in Edmonton in the middle of February, when it was bloody cold, and getting to do it, basically work a show with him, even though I was helping other teams, they're all getting to work a show with him all these years later. That was cool to me, because like, it's a full circle thing, and man, like, your story is just so inspiring, dude. Like, honest to God. And now, you're no longer in the industry. Well, you're in the industry, but not in the industry. Like, you're not like doing it full time, but you're still involved in the virtual side of it. But before we get into that with Beam and what you're kind of doing with the guys that developed the Leafer mod, what are you currently doing these days? Like, what's because I know I see you doing some stuff with I think it's Hunt Brothers Pizza, I think it is.
Yeah. So when I got out of Triple B, one of the things that I wanted to have is still somewhat of a travel job. Like, I was looking at trying to get something with a Class A CDL, but with the time frame that I had, I needed to get something faster. So I was looking at stuff like a box truck delivery, because I used to, during COVID, shortly after COVID, around 2021, I worked for FedEx, and I actually enjoyed it a lot, because I'm driving, I'm not in one place all the time. I like interacting with people. It's something I enjoy a lot. So I saw this job for Hunt Brothers, and I'm like, well, it's gas station pizza. I'll take whatever I can get at this point, right? And I am extremely blessed to work with such an amazing group of people. Our district covers all of Minnesota. There's only 3 of us in the St. Cloud warehouse, and I drive all the way down on my Monday down to Leroy, Minnesota, and tomorrow I'll be all the way up to Ely. So I cover all the way almost border to border of Minnesota within 4 days. I do average about 13 to 1,500 miles. And it's crazy, because the company is very much a faith-based company. Like, their motto is, put God first and be a blessing to others. And I wouldn't say my faith is something, because of all everything that I've been through, my trauma, the loss of my brother. My faith is something that I've struggled with, but I never kind of lose sight of. It's more of like okay, point me in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
And applying for this job was just kind of one of those things where it's like, I need money. I need to, keep my house afloat. I need to be able to, pay the bills. Right. And it was such a weird shape because, you know, I go from being gone for weeks, if not months on end, to now it's like I now am in a hotel only 2 nights a week, really nice hotels too. And I only work Monday through Thursday, occasionally Friday. And then I have, you know, the weekends off. And, you know, now I've been there since October, and I went from being an area assistant, which I just helped out, moved up to an account manager, and now I'm an account manager, and I'm also the district trainer. So I am also in charge of training other people that want to come in and work for us. And they are just an extremely faith-based, very welcoming. It's like having a family. I mean, these guys are awesome. And I love, you know, my district managers, my regional managers, the other drivers. I mean, like it doesn't feel like work half the time when I go in and work with these guys. And it's crazy because I know there were some guys talking crap when I left Triple B. It's like, really? He left Monster Trucks to go deliver pizza? And it's like, I'm making pretty good money, and I'm, you know, the accommodations are pretty good. I'm getting paid really well. I'm treated well. And it's like, I'd be stupid to leave this, you know, and I can't give that up right now for full time. So right now, I guess I could just kind of throw this out there right now. When it comes to spring 2026, I'm going to be leaving Minnesota and going back to Michigan because that's when the lease is up. And, you know, just with the way things are currently in my living situation, I am going to be the one moving and going elsewhere. Now, right now, the goal is to move back to Michigan because that is where my family is. I've spent literally all of my 20s traveling the lower 48 states. I've been to so many incredible, amazing places, met many amazing people, but my love is still with this industry. My love is still with monster trucks. And I don't know what that looks like in the future because, you know, you got a lot of these guys that are, you know, they want to sit there. It's kind of one of those things, right, where people tell you it's like, you can't do this, you know, it's impossible, right?
Yeah.
And I look at guys like Josh, you know, he bought an older version, kind of an older monster truck, right? The original Mechanical Mischief. And, you know, it is a very basic truck, but he made it work. And now he's got this amazing piece that, you know, now he's got this partnership with Bigfoot. So it's like, I want to get back in the worst way possible, but I don't know if I could go work with somebody full time because I don't know. It's just kind of a weird scenario for me. I mean, I may change my mind in a month or so, but my heart, it's been over almost a year since I've smelt methanol, man. I haven't heard a blower surge in so long. And September 13th, I'm going to Elko Speedway. Josh is bringing both of his trucks there. That's an itch that I've been needing to scratch, man.
You need the methanol therapy, that horsepower therapy, my friend.
I do. Heavy metal can only do so much, man. But I need to be around a truck that sounds like the intro for Hot for Teachers, that blur, and I need it to burn my nostrils.
Well, like one of the things that I think you mentioned earlier is like, for me, it doesn't matter if I'm working a show, it doesn't matter if I'm going as a fan. When those trucks fire up, all the voices in my head stop. All my worries and all the crap goes, you know, and I'm at peace at that moment. It sounds crazy because these trucks are loud, noisy, obnoxious. I'm that's kind of how I am personally, but like all the BS stops and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm the happiest, you know. And I understand that, man, because like, you know, this industry is just, there's nothing like it.
Mm-mm. It's weird. Like when you're absolutely right, because when those trucks fire up and you don't know what's going to happen next, it's weird because it's almost like you find peace in the chaos because you don't know what's going to happen next, but you know people are going to be talking about it.
And like another one of my favorite moments is after a show, all the fans have gone, and you're just, like, I would sit in the stands after a show, you know, if I was able to work the show or be behind the scenes helping out or whatever, I'd sit in the stands after the show is over and just sit there and during the calmness. And like 20 minutes ago, this place was nuts, you know, fans on their feet, trucks doing cool shit, and now it's all calm. Like I love stuff like that because it shows how this industry is, you know. And I think it doesn't matter if you've been gone a year from the industry, 5 years, 10 years, monster trucks are always going to be a part of you. Like it's always going to be a part of you, Austin. It's always going to be a part of me. It's always going to be a part of Cheech. It's going to be a part of everybody that's involved in this industry. We're never going to get it's the addiction is never going to die.
No, you're never truly out of it. Some way, shape, or form, it calls you back. But I did make a promise to myself, since I'm not on the road with anybody full time, as soon as they finally announce the dates, I'm actually going to be going to the Hall of Fame reunion this November when they finally announce it. I'm just waiting for the dates. I can finally put it in for my time off, and I can finally be around my monster truck family again, because, man, I freaking miss you guys.
That's for me is still a bucket list. It's funny when people realize where I live, they're like, whoa, like
you're way out there, bud.
Oh, I'm way up there. I'm an hour from the start of the Alaska Highway. I'm up there. Like, and Kyle Doyle talked last week. Like, he's been up where I live. He understands. Like, we don't get a lot of stuff out here. I can say, and I've said this before, Grand Prairie, Alberta is the only place Monster Truck Throwdown's ever done a small arena.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't done it since 2017 after Jared Vogel and crew behavior hit the Dashers.
That's not the only thing that's hit the Dashers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but
sorry,
I did a cooler. Okay. I did a cooler, which I've redeemed myself since then.
Well, you haven't fully redeemed yourself. I'm sorry, bud. I'm still Team Eggnog. Anyway, we can move on with the podcast.
Okay.
I didn't think I pulled that old one.
This podcast is over. This podcast is over. Okay, just kidding. But now, you're still involved in the industry, but the virtual side. And
I have been for a while, actually.
And I love talking about this because that's where I come from. That's where Cheats comes from. That's where a lot of us, Kevin Payne, tech official for Mushroom, that's where he come from. Alex Pecorelli, who's known in the industry. Sorry. That's where he came from. So many of us, Josh Rhodes, so many of us have come from the monster truck industry, or the virtual game industry, back in MTM2, then to Rigs of Rods, then to BeamNG. But you're involved in something really cool that's happening soon, and we're gonna play a trailer for it, and then we're gonna get into it. And this is so cool. I know Cheech is involved in this, as a competitor standpoint. But check this out, guys.
So you think you're the best? Vintage Trading Cards and Gavril Trucks present the Community Clash Monster Truck Series live September 6th from Langley Motor Speedway. You think you're the best? Then come beat the rest.
That is the Community Clash being put on by Beam Motorsports. We've had some of the guys in here, Bobcat and Mike Bev, and so many others. The Leafer mod was created. I forget who created it quite a couple years ago. But you guys have taken it to a whole nother level. I mess with the Leafers every day. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I'm doing weird engine combos and trying just some weird stuff with those trucks. But talk about just the whole event that you guys are putting on, and where people can find out more information.
So the reason behind the event, and we kind of came together because we understand, because like you said, you came from virtual monster truck racing, and when it comes to wanting to join a league or any kind of event, especially somebody who may be new to the community, you kind of have to jump through a bunch of hoops, and it's like you have to know somebody and kind of go through a lot of weeds, especially with a lot of toxic people in some of these groups, in order to try and get accepted into being taken part in a league. So we decided, you know what, we're doing away with that. This is an open sign up. Anybody can run. And we're opening the server Monday through Thursday before the actual event. I believe Ben said we're keeping the server open from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're working with everybody that wants to evolve, because basically top 16 qualifiers. So whoever top 16 drivers who qualify within the top 16 get into the event for Saturday. So it's kind of like Penda, where anybody can show up, anyone can take part and be a part of this event, but you got to qualify. It's not just like an open sign up and we're going to have 100 to whatever, so many trucks. Thank you, Ben. So 7 p.m. 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern is when we're going to be hosting, having the server open so you can come in, practice, and then there's going to be qualifying from Monday through Thursday. We have all the rest of the information and the signups on our Beam Motorsports Discord. If you go to beam-motorsports.com, which is where we have the mod, the tracks, the replica customs pack, everything that is related to the Leafer. We also have a lot of other really cool stuff, not just monster trucks coming relatively soon down the pipeline. But if you want to be involved in old school monster truck racing, this is a series to where it's open to everybody, but you got to qualify in order to get into the main field. And we got a lot of really cool things a part of it. We are also open it for people because we've got 30 what we call the community customs pack. So Bobcat, myself, Rudd, so many of the guys decided to take upon themselves to make all these custom identities. So that way, anybody that wants to come in and may not be artistic, they may not have an idea. We have a bunch of original identities that you can choose from to drive. And we understand there's a lot of people that are big fans of, like, you might be a big fan of Bigfoot, Scott Hess's Barefoot, USA One, whichever old school truck. The community clash is geared to where you are the focal point, you are the star, you are the one going out to compete. So that is why we gear so hard for you guys to come up with your own identity, because when you go out there and win, you lay down a good pass, whatever, you're the one getting the recognition for it. So we're looking forward to it. We got like almost 20 people that have signed up already in the signups, and we're very excited to be to take part of this. And again, this is open to anybody and everybody, West Coast, across the pond, like as long as you're able to make it in. And there's a reason why the event itself is at 10 p.m. Eastern on a Saturday night, is because everyone's in different time zones. We're trying to accommodate that to where you guys could come in and have fun with us and lay down some awesome racing passes, because we're not doing just one. This is 10 races that we're holding throughout a little series, and we want to see who actually can come out here and be the best. Because some of us moderators, if we're able to if I can qualify, cool, I'll be in the field. If I don't, and somebody else like you, Brad, I doubt it, but come out there and lay a better time than me.
Oh, the challenge has been laid down now, dude. You don't know the can of worms you just opened up. Okay, you just brought back the fire of a guy that's been doing this since 2007. Okay, like dude,
listen,
there's
buddy,
going to be much more than grass being burned this
Here's
time,
the thing, buddy. So we are using a starting light. We're not doing drivers ready, go. We actually have a starting light in the game. So that is how we're actually getting people to go. Now, listen, you said you've been doing this for a long time, and I've been in part of drag racing too. With age, your reaction time gets a little worse. So if you really think you're to hang on to us, then bring it.
Okay, kids, look away. I am very proud of my reaction times, by the way. Okay. Mm-hmm. When I went to Bristol in 05, I was young. Okay. But I whooped everybody at the reaction tree thing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to whoop your ass. If there's call outs, I'm calling your ass out, dude.
Okay. That's totally fine. I'll be sure to have a nice hot place of Timbits for when I wait for you at the finish line.
Hey, Timbits are better than Munchkins.
Oh, you're 100% right there. Unfortunately, there's not many Tim Hortons around here, which is kind of BS considering how close I am to Canada.
Dude, you need to come out to Alberta, dude. You'd have a blast out here, my friend.
I mean, if they got Boston creams, I'm down.
So, oh, hell yes. Hell yes. But as we wind this down, is there any social media that people can find you out there, my friend?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I'm on my Instagram. I'm trying to get a little bit more than normal. So Austin_Spence95 is where you can find me on Instagram. I have a TikTok. I'm not very good at it, unfortunately. Do I need to make an edit to your truck now? So no more edits. It's in the game. Just leave it alone, Bobcat. Don't touch it. So you can find me there. I have a TikTok. Again, I don't really use much. It's also just Austin_Spence or A Spence, one of the two. It's funny, we were talking about Twitch earlier. I'm recently trying to figure all of that out. So I could kind of get into Twitch streaming, because again, I love this. I love interacting with people. I love talking to people. So I'm trying to get that going, but it's going to be a different username. I think it's AJ_Sprocket13. There's a reason for the number 13. And yeah, I love that all the boys are suddenly commenting in on Facebook, even though they're probably all screen sharing on Discord right now and talking smack. So
Oh, probably. I'm surprised the guys in my Discord aren't on as well. That kind of surprises me.
no, I get it. But yeah, we're looking forward to it, and I'm glad that you guys are more than willing to jump in and have fun, because we're part of the Crush This Race team on Monster Truck Attitude. I love the smack talk that we do, and it is downhill diecast racing, but here you're in the driver's seat. We want you guys to come out, bring your A game, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it too. So we're looking forward to it.
Before we end, I forgot to do this at the beginning of the show, but a guy that name of the monster truck industry, Joe Nichter, unfortunately passed away a couple days ago. I got to interact with Joe at the four-wheel jamboree, wrong finger, Brad, four-wheel jamboree with the Stomper team, the truck I designed for the team. Hopefully Joe's family is doing well. The Nichters and everybody else, the Kaisers, Dalton Skyhawk, Roger Gauger, all of them. I hope they're doing good. That just popped up on my brain. I just saw one of the posts about Joe, so I had to make that post. Keep his family in your prayers. And I don't know who's going to be printing them, but I'm working on a in memorial decal for I don't know if Richie's going to be printing them or Dalton or whoever, but get in contact with them once they're available. Joe is a great guy. F cancer. He will definitely be missed. Also, if you're wondering where Cheech is, he is at the Colorado State Fair. He was not able to make it. He's doing display there with the Ramdemption truck or Raminator. I'm not too sure which one he's there with. If you're in the Illinois area, I think it's Illinois or Indiana somewhere, Kurt's doing a display at the Farm Progress show down there. And I'm not too sure we're going to have on next week. Hey, Lee's here. Shout out Lee. Great dude. Awesome dude. Great guy on the West Coast. Offered me and my wife a place to stay if we were going to be passing through he is in Healdsburg, but wasn't able to make it. But shout out Lee. We talked about you quite a bit with Austin there.
You missed it,
Benjamin.
You're late.
Yeah. He was in here earlier, but he probably had to go do stuff. He's a very busy man. Benjamin says community class will be live streamed on our YouTube page. Hey, if I don't make it in, if you guys need a commentator, I'm willing to jump in. I haven't commentated since the MTM2 days, but I think I could still do it.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we got to see if you can make a pass first. Again, that reaction time, man. We might need to knock off some of the rust, but it's okay.
Dude, I'm
Learn
gonna
from
be
me.
like,
I'll show you how it's done.
Dude, I'm gonna be like John Force on that tree. He was always a sniper on that tree, dude. I'm gonna channel my inner John Force.
Well, don't feel too bad because we have the staging lights upside down, and the reason for that is because Kyle Seesaw keeps finishing a race upside down, so we had to put the staging bulbs on the bottom to accommodate for him. So
is this breaking news from Lee Plato? Monster Jam bound Shane in Monster Jam?
Is this 18 December? Oh,
is this breaking news?
I'm not sure. That would be pretty sick, though.
Lee, get a hold of me. Let's get you on the podcast scene, my friend. But Austin, dude, thank you for the chat. We've gone almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. My wife has been spamming me on Facebook with reels about Taylor Swift getting engaged. Yes, my wife's a Swiftie. I'm also a Swiftie. I'm a Swiftie husband.
Next thing you know, you're gonna tell me even worse. You're a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
I'm not a football guy, dude. I'm a hockey guy. I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan, diehard Oilers fan. So
go Red Wings.
Hey, Red Wings are original six. If I'm gonna have to cheer for any of the original six, it's gonna be the Red Wings because just legendary. You know, Steve Yzerman, one of the best players of all time, played on that team, and so many others. I think Pavel Datsyuk played for them as well. I'm pretty sure.
So that was one of our goats, Pavel Datsyuk. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. But I've never been able to get into football, Canadian football or American football. It's just not. I find it too slow. Personally, hockey is just way more exciting in my opinion.
Debatable.
But I'll have to say, go Lions.
Absolutely.
Guys, until next week. Before I go, I almost forgot. Check out my different. I can't even speak. Brad will get a 5-point bounty if he beats Spence. Does that mean what does that mean? for
So
this.
we have a bounty system in place. So if somebody comes in and wins 3 events in a row, there's a bounty on their head. So we have a bounty system specifically for our competitors. But Red's trying to be funny, saying you get 5 points if you just take me out extra. But I think that means heads up, so I can't give you a truck and a half length for an advantage. So you got to beat me heads up,
no,
bud.
I'm gonna beat you fair and square, dude.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm gonna be saying what my truck make is gonna be here. It's gonna be a Ford.
So is mine.
Hey, I'm a Ford man through and through, even though I drive a Dodge in real life.
Well, at least you get something reliable in real life. I'm sure Gibbs loves that comment.
Hey,
He's a Dodge guy.
2019 Dodge Grand Caravan is an amazing vehicle. But guys, check up on your friends and family. Mental health is a very important thing. If you're struggling, going through anything, please reach out. It'll save your life. Trust me on this. I've been there. Austin's been there. If you guys just keep holding on, that's all you got to do. Things do get better. There's proof of it. Reach out to somebody. And guys, until next week, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Peace.